Hello, and welcome to the Saladcast on Monday, the 2nd of May, 2011. I'm your host, Dan Train. Joining me today, Zachary Burgess.
Yes.
And Robert Kemp.
With extra cream!
Oh man.
That's kind of creepy.
Just confirm that it's actually you. Freaky, creepy monster.
It is I.
Oh dear.
It's my Mr. Hyde side. When I get taken
The cream
over by,
monster.
the custom cream monster.
Oh dear. So, so you're mild-mannered Rob Kemp, programmer by day. By night, the custard
cream annihilator.
What, do you mean you just eat lots of custard cream?
No.
You just sit there, huge packets of custard cream.
I'll tell you what I do, right? I break into Morrison's and I burn them.
You just destroy them. No one must have these custard creams.
I eat a few.
Just to keep you going while you're doing all the burning.
There's a lot of burning to be done.
And all that's left in the morning is the crumbs.
Or charred ground.
Yeah, and I totally destroyed Morrison's with some crumbs strewed around.
And the echoes of my sinister laugh.
Well, you're getting a bit close to the Hitcher there from the Mighty Boosh.
Outraged. Eels up inside you. Oh, that one. Yeah,
Find an entrance where they can.
Eels.
Squire. Anyway, how's it going, guys?
Tasty.
What?
It's going tasty.
Are we going to do the whole podcast with the crusty cream monster? How do we switch him back to the mild-mannered Robert Kemp?
Well, it's daytime, so he should be.
That's true. I don't know.
This is some other trigger.
Maybe if I get some burning out the way.
You want to pop over to Morrison's and burn down the biscuit aisle?
It's alright. I'm a bit burnt out, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Pun.
Pun. Just point that out in case no one got it.
Fun.
I like to make sure everyone's included, you know. Equal opportunities joke that.
No matter how, from now on, no matter how lame a pun anybody makes, you have to follow up by saying, pun! Deary me.
Just have to broadcast it. Well, I'm back.
Oh, it's back. Now we can talk about computer games.
Even I didn't realise I'd stopped doing the voice.
See, you have no knowledge. You can't remember anything from when you were the monster, can you?
What?
Exactly, see? He has no idea. When he listens back to this podcast, he's going to be very surprised.
What the fuck is going on? I'm just looking at, actually, so I'm just trying to go through some of my notes on my phone to find an appropriate page on which to actually maybe write down the tags for this week's cast. I've just come across a note to myself that I actually don't understand, which just says, open on flip no wormy.
What does it say? What's the first word?
Skynet.
Oh shit, Skynet.
Skynet, so the evil computer from Terminator series.
Sending wrong messages.
I have to open on flip no wormy.
No wormy.
Make sure the no wormy is set.
Remember, that's in 2012.
Indeed. Is that the supposed date for?
Well, I doubt it actually is until, 2012. Just use it as a generic
disaster, yeah. So it was originally
Oh,
1997, but then the terrible Terminator 3 movie kind of delayed the date.
Well, because they had to at that point.
Because
it already
it
happened.
was released after 1997. So it's like, And what's that? Oh, they're doing another one, aren't they? But they already did another one.
They're doing another one.
And they're doing another one.
With Schwarzenegger being incredibly old.
Yeah.
Ancient Terminator.
Yeah. I mean,
Pensionator.
do you think the outside the endoskeleton, the actual organic parts, presumably they age? Do you think? Or do you think the Terminators would always look the same, the flesh kind?
I don't know.
I mean, presumably the like liquid metal ones could be any. They can take any form. So maybe he's like upgraded, but he chooses to
look old. What?
Yeah, that's true.
Well, maybe. Well, I know. I guess that would actually make sense if he wanted to blend in, because then he'd just look like an older. He'd look like he had aged normally, as a person would.
Yeah.
Rather than having died and come back through time travel several times.
Yeah, I suppose. If you wanted to look endearing to like the boy.
Well,
What's
if
his
you
name?
wanted to...
Connor.
Yeah, I guess. If you wanted
What's
to
the
make...
sun called in Terminator 2?
Fuck, I don't know.
Can't even remember. Damn.
I want to call him Penis. You know.
Penis Connor.
It just sounds. It's got a nice ring to it.
Okay.
Easy money. Ew, that takes on a whole new meaning. Anyway, let's get this on track, shall we?
Nah.
Nah, let's just carry on.
So, computer games. Robert Kemp.
What are they?
What are computer
Computer
games?
games.
And have you played any this week?
Games what are played on my computer. My one specifically. You know, every other one's a pooter games. My computer game. So yeah.
Is this another character? Yeah, that's the green one.
This is the coffee talking. I'm telling you.
Okay.
The coffee that you drank like
Coffee
2 minutes
feed.
ago.
It works.
Apparently.
It wasn't 2 minutes ago. It was like 20 minutes ago now.
That's about it.
Optimum coffee
I
time.
think it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to kick in, doesn't it? So that would
Pretty
be
much, yeah.
about right.
If I start getting the shakes, then it's good coffee. Anyway, yeah, games. Well, I have been finishing off the main campaign of Blur.
From
Bizarre Creations.
Bizarre
Blur.
Creations.
Bizarre.
Banana defined Bizarre Creations. Yes, so how's Blur going?
Yeah, it's good. It's good. It got quite. It got kind of difficult and irritating towards the end, as a lot of games tend to. Partially because of Bizarre's penchant for extremely high difficulty levels. And also, well, basically, there's this thing I described in the game before, fan runs. Not we have to escape a giant fan about to munch your limbs into several pieces.
Although that would be cool.
Where you have to run through a set of gates for the fans.
Thereby scoring some kind of bonus.
Indeed, which scores you fans. Because that's the game's kind of kudos system, is measured in fans.
But that's not necessary to win. Oh.
No. You just have to, basically, part of the... You don't need to do these, but they're kind of one of the things you need for 100% campaign completion. You get like an extra light, which is like your progress points or whatever. You get an extra one if you manage to succeed the fan run and still get a podium position.
Is there one per?
There's
race?
one per event. Yeah,
right.
Every event has one. And
Okay.
it's with the exception of the one-on-ones.
And do you get a hefty achievement gamer score for getting 100% on the
Probably
campaign?
not. It's probably only 20 points. But
Yeah,
you know.
but the prestige.
The prestige.
Anyway.
Well, no, if you're really going for the prestige in Blur, the achievement to go for would be every event in hard mode. Because I couldn't even do the first...
Platinum or gold? Or...
Pretty much just... Well, there's a hard difficulty option for
Right.
I'm playing on normal. Because
Like a
hard
sane
mode
person.
is freaking
Yeah,
impossible. So yeah, and there's a Chivo for harding every event. I harded that one. And I haven't managed any of them yet. It's solid. But yeah, anyway, the point I was going to make about the fan runs is towards the end it seems like the gate detection is a bit flaky. Or it feels like it's just really frustrating in the sense that the gates are big glowing pseudo poles. They're not like real poles. They're like
You can drive through
you can
them.
drive through them, and sometimes driving through them counts as okay.
I see.
And other times
It
you can
doesn't.
be mostly inside and just click the pole and it'll go nah, can't have that. It seems a bit flaky. Like I have had circumstances where I've been hit by a power up and just before getting to one, and I've landed, and then just slightly clipped the edge of the pole because I couldn't correct in time because of the power up hit, and then promptly lost the fan run. And on the last few levels, it becomes really frustrating to get it right because then all the computer players are shooting you while you're attempting it, so you end up sort of like just going, "You bastards! You fucking bastards!"
Could you just like do it on the last lap when you're in front or something?
Oh no, because they become so wiggly that you'd have to be a fucking long way ahead to sort of... Some of them are right at the end of the lap, which is the irritating thing as well. So if you retry, you've still got to drive a whole lap and then attempt it. And then you've got like a short burst towards the finish line. So if you're already going quite slow to get around the extra wiggly and extra wide runs of these, then you're basically in trouble unless you're a long way ahead. So it's worth getting it done on the first lap and then fighting your way through the next two.
to get to
get back up. Yeah,
Right.
So do it while you're in last.
and also that levels up as the way you get the fan target as well, where you have to score a certain number of fans overall. So you get the bonus from the fan run, and then you get the bonus from the fighting. But it's quite difficult to pull off, and as I say, just getting the fan run in the first place is kind of a challenge because they twitch. There's one super annoying one that's the most frustrating thing. It's right at the start of the lap, so it's not too bad on the retry front. But the first gate is dead ahead of the start point, and then the second gate is actually in a dip, but which you would normally jump over because you're travelling speed. So after you hit the first gate, you have to brake really hard, and then just drip over the edge of the hill to get the second gate, and then you've got to boost, make sure you have some boosts in reserve in order to get enough speed up to actually make the next few gates before the timer runs out.
Right.
And then there's a few that weave about all over the track, and that one was hard because what kept happening is I was getting a fairly good start, getting ahead of the pack, so I'd hit the fan run, and then someone would ram me up the arse, meaning I had just enough speed to clear the jump.
Oh no.
And that happened so much. It was the most frustrating one in the game, I think, to get. And it's quite a long distance one as well, is that the distances between gates are quite epic in places.
Because your opponents aren't interested in the fan run, they're not going to slow down.
Yeah, they're just concentrating on winning.
Yeah.
So you get shoved out of the way really easily on that one.
Are these runs included in the multiplayer?
No, this is a single player only thing.
Oh, okay.
Doing the fan runs in multiplayer might have just been a complete... I don't know, it would have been kind of awesome, like extra points, but...
or giving you some kind of cool power.
Or some sort of bonus. They could have featured them in the same way that they could have added the fan requests, which also aren't in the multiplayer, where you get just do this now, please, for extra points.
Right.
Like, you'll run over a fan request, and it's like, oh, here we go. I've given you a load of bolt power-ups. Now land most of them in reverse or something.
Right.
Or hit a couple of people whilst you're flying through the air. Those kind of ridiculous things. Or drift shots.
So you can get as many as those... There's one fan run per event, but you can get loads of
those
fan
loads of
requests.
All right. Yeah, there are loads, and they're a way of getting the fan targets up. They become less frequent as you get towards the end of the campaign because they become difficult to do in the middle of a race.
You've got to concentrate on racing.
And the requests become tough actually because they start asking you to do get a super drift in a relatively non-slidey circuit. So that on a corner that's not particularly suited.
And if you attempt it, you're probably going to lose a race.
Yeah, well, you'll slow down quite a lot if you attempt it because you have to handbrake it in a lot of cars. Like there's one you unlock a really cool track towards the end of the game, which is a Japanese hill run. Downhill, so you get nice. It's a point-to-point, nice windy road, pretty cool. But your best car for that is actually a grippy style Japanese car, like a Skyline or something like that.
Yeah.
But then it asks you to do a drift, which in Blur's handling model, grippy means you really can't drift very well.
Right.
So then it asks do a super drift, and it's like, damn, can't do that one. Better let that one run out.
So you need like a ridiculous muscle car in order to drift.
To do that, but then you're at risk of being crap around the corners in general.
Yeah.
It's a trade-off. Some of them work, some of them don't. And as I say, some of them get a bit ridiculous towards the end, like do a nitro barge where you have to get up behind someone and then barge them out of the way. So it gives you both the power-ups to do that, but you have to be in the right position at the right time and be the right distance from someone in the pack to pull it off.
Right.
And it's they become a bit random.
So do you not get those more difficult ones earlier on then?
No, they only start breaking out the hard ones towards the end.
Oh, okay.
So it makes some of the last targets difficult as well because you can't use fan requests to help bump your score.
You have to complete the runs.
You have to actually just do the runs and just shoot a lot of people and chain them together and things like that. And it's
the takedowns get you. Or whatever.
Yeah, hitting anything with anyone with anything gets you points, and the more you chain together in quick succession, you end up with combo bonuses and things.
Do you get eliminations like in Wipeout, where you just when they don't come back?
You wreck a car, but they don't get knocked out completely.
Right.
They get knocked out for a significant amount of time.
Much longer than if you just hit them and they were on.
Yeah, it's a slightly harsher version of Burnout's taken down system.
I see.
So you're still back in the race and you still come back with full health, but the actual punishment for wrecking is quite large.
Right.
So wrecking in the harder levels is basically the end of
restart. Yeah. But if you wreck an opponent,
the same thing happens to them. They'll come back, but they won't be out indefinitely. The single player actually does take the multiplayer elements most of the time. So if you wreck someone, for instance, their car goes transparent.
Yeah.
So you can see them wrecking to a point, but you can't hit the wreck.
Oh, I see. So you can sort of see the crash, but it's a ghost crash.
Yeah.
You can drive through.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
kind of cool.
To try and stop it from basically being, oh shit, I got that guy, but his wreckage just randomly got in my way, and now I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Kind of scenario, which is great. It's a good decision.
Definitely.
It's a shame in a way because the crashes makes all the crashes look a bit shit in to a certain degree because they all sort of become this ghosty format, and sometimes you'll pass right through one, and they make some quite nice crunchy noises. So you'll be driving along, and all of a sudden you'll go, "What the hell was that crunch that came over my sound system?" And it's like, because you would have noticed this ghost like just floating about somewhere.
Yeah,
and it's so it's a bit funny. And then again, I don't think the crashes are done particularly well in terms of visuals.
Right,
but
it's not really the focus because they're not zooming in on it like they are.
No, it's and they kind of cover it up when you get wrecked yourself because they make the entire screen look like a shattered window.
Oh, right.
And pass this giant text across the screen saying wrecked.
Oh, right. Okay.
So you can't really see it anyway. So it was obvious. I think they knew that their wreck animations weren't that hot. Maybe it might have been a licensing thing. Maybe you can't destroy licensed cars.
Maybe, who knows?
Quite so dramatically as Burnout does.
Yeah. Anyway, it's not really the focus, so
no. And it doesn't affect the actual flow of the game. It's just something that could have been a bit nicer.
Yeah.
Basically, I've only found a few minor flaws in the grand scheme of it. The game is still awesome. For the love of God, buy it if you can.
Awesome. Have you gone back into multiplayer at all? Has it drawn you in?
I do want to play multiplayer. At the moment, if I'm still on Reach actually in terms of Xbox multiplayer. Keep going back to that periodically.
Everyone goes through phases,
and I'm getting close to reaching. I haven't played it nearly enough to be honest, and I'm only just starting to get close to captain rank.
Right.
And there's a Chivo attached to that. Yay!
Yeah, I need to get that.
So it's like one of the few multiplayer achievements in Reach, and it's like, oh, I'm so close, must get it.
Yeah. When I get my Xbox back, we'll go back onto Reach. Well, I will. I'll join you.
Yeah.
So that'll be awesome. So,
yeah.
Thumbs up for Blur.
Still,
sweet game. Completely neon craziness.
Yeah, so I've been playing that, mostly finished. I'll be playing a bit more of it, and then I'm done. Woot. Also, in the wake of finishing Red Dead, I've started another single-player endeavour. One we've covered before, but is eminently awesome. The Batman.
Indeed, Batman Arkham Asylum. No. You seem to be like...
the Batman.
Games that I have enthused about, you're checking out.
That's true, actually.
And maybe being slightly more reserved about, but still liking.
Well, after the description of Batroid, it was hard to resist, really, because I love Metroid.
I noticed that we talk about it as Metroid style, but I noticed that on the Giant Bombcast they refer to that style of game as Metroidvania, because Castlevania is the same thing. Yeah. So it's Metroidvania.
Phase.
Yeah. Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, it's Batroidvania.
And does that carry through for you? Does it feel Metroid?
Metroidvania.
Well, you say what you think.
It is pretty much. It's very Metroidy in the sense that you do. The bit I'm a bit confused about, you go through areas, you see a lot of things where it's like, oh, I wonder how I do that.
Yeah.
It's like, how do I unlock this bit? And it's not quite so obvious in Batman as it is in Metroid that I need this to do it.
Equipment, yeah.
In Metroid, you pretty much know, I'm going to get the grapple at some point, and I'll need that to get over here.
Yeah.
Or it says, I need a concussive blast. At some point, I'll get a concussive explosion that will destroy this wall and stuff. In Batman, it's all a little bit less obvious.
Yeah, I guess if it was your first ever Metroid game, you might not be so...
Yeah,
sure. But I guess they make it more obvious in the world because it's slightly more cartoony.
There's only a few clues, isn't there? Like some walls say they're structurally weak for explosion. Then you see explosively unsound walls that are in the air, and I don't know how to destroy those yet.
Yeah. And
it's like, well, how am I going to get those with my stupid, shitty gel canister?
Exactly.
And it's like, well, I'm going to need something else, but
I don't know quite when or what. And
but the problem I have with it so far is the game doesn't seem to be lending itself to backtracking in the sense that the storyline doesn't seem to be following a backtracking approach.
Yeah.
You cross the island quite a lot, but the actual buildings you tend to only hit in one go at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment.
And I'm about 8-9 hours in.
Yeah.
And there's been no need to backtrack at the moment, nor does the game seem to be giving me any point in backtracking at this stage, because you tend to visit pretty much the entirety of that building when you go into it, other than the secret areas within that building. Because you see them and you go, how the bloody hell am I going to do that?
Yeah. I have to say, the story kind of sends you through the same areas, but not for a while. You only start going back to areas relatively late on. And it does open up so you can just go anywhere or whatever. Yeah. But I have to say, it's not a case of, I'm going back here to do story stuff, but now I've got the new equipment, I can access these secret areas. It's often a case of, well, now I have the equipment, let's check out that area, even though there's nothing new story-wise, but I know there's stuff there.
Because of the Riddler maps.
Yeah, or whatever, all the clues.
Or just in general.
Yeah, so you do get, towards the end, if you're hunting for that kind of stuff, which is fun in itself, but it is kind of an empty map. Do you know what I mean? The
Riddler stuff is okay, but it's not... at times it's not very engaging, is it? I like the actual sort of riddle bits.
Yeah.
We have to find a standout bit of the thing. I mean, the trophy hunting is okay, I guess. But it's... Yeah, I don't know. It's sort of... It's great in some aspects, and there's loads to do. There's loads of these challenges.
There's tons.
And you get them, and the actual... the great thing about the Riddler's dialogue is that none of it is repeated so far.
Yeah.
Not one bit of it has been said twice, and there's a lot of it. Admittedly, most of it is inconsequential or not particularly context specific. It's like, oh, you found that. Oh, that was an easy one. I'm surprised you didn't get that sooner. That kind of backhanded compliment. But they're all kind of... there's a lot of them that are in the same vein, but none of them are the same.
And I think they've recorded an awful lot.
Yeah.
And all the clues that are recorded by him, I think they play once when you enter the area or whatever it is, but you can go into the menu and press I want to hear it again.
Yeah,
but it never repeats it on you.
He never reads the clues to me. I get an on-screen pop-up with them written, but he never reads the clues unless I go into the menu.
Yeah, if you go in the menu, he will, won't he? But he doesn't. Yeah, it's just because you don't want it to distract from the story. Yeah.
I mean, the Riddler stuff is great, actually. I'll just come out and say it. It's great, but it could have been a little bit more varied rather than just fetch quests, which most of them are, like go here, scan this.
Yeah.
They could have done...
I like the ones where you have to line up things in the environment. If you
that was kind of cool. Yeah, the question
marks. It's like a question mark. There's quite a few of those, and they're quite fun, because sometimes you have to scale whole buildings to find the tiny dot or whatever.
Well, there was one point, there was one, where it said you need a stronger position. So I go up high, and it's like, I just couldn't for the life of me find this dot. And it turns out it's just on one of the poles of the fence.
Yeah.
At the top, and it's like, and you just sort of spot, and it's like, oh, bloody hell, I looked ages for this. And then it's just like, just this tiny dot just suddenly shines up in detective mode.
Yeah.
They are right about the detective mode as well. You do tend to just kind of leave it on for far too longer periods.
And then everyone just looks like these weird neon skeletons rather than scary bad guys.
I do specifically try and turn it off during the fights.
Yeah.
Before I get into any fight I can see coming. Just turn it off.
Me too, because the graphics are so good.
They're very good.
Even now, it's 2 years old, that game.
Yeah, and it pushes my system, to be honest. I mean, I've not got a top-of-the-range graphics card. It's a 275 NVIDIA, but...
Yeah.
It's bloody nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it runs speedy on a lot of the indoor sections, but the outdoor sections I drop down to just above 30.
Yeah, well, it's the Unreal Engine.
Yeah, it is pretty. And I love the use of physics. I don't know if you get this on the console version too much, but the way just everything in the environment moves sort of legitimately. Like how when there's a benchmark test on the PC version you can use, and one of it shows a load of guys shuffling about the notes rooms. I forget where it is. Is it the
library sort of area? Yeah. You do see lots of paper flying around.
Yeah, they're kicking the papers about on the floor, and it shuffles about. And when a door opens, it pushes the leaves out of the way of the door. And
it looks pretty damn good
those
on
little
the console,
details
actually.
are beautiful.
They definitely
they're
are.
Great.
The art design is really nice on the
it's fantastic.
as well.
And the only bits that it doesn't fall into the Bioshock trap either of having been only designed for a certain frame rate. So all the animation is slick, all the physics are slick, all the all the incidental things that pop up on screen are at 30, but they're so nicely done that it doesn't matter. The kind of bat effect kind of looks good, and
the whooshing bats.
Sort of nice in place. The only annoying...
I like that sound.
Yeah.
Of the bats. So
there's a couple of annoying things, I have to say. Camera work during free flow combat although good, sometimes has enemies off screen that will suddenly just jump on and attack you, and it's like, oh fuck, I couldn't see that coming.
Yeah. Depends on the environment. Often. Yeah. Like in the challenge maps, they're usually big open areas, so you can kind of see. That's good. But
there's the odd occasion where that throws you up quite badly, and I struggle with some of the controls for that. Just getting it to sometimes do what you want at the right time.
Playing with mouse and keyboard?
No, I'm gamepadding it.
Oh, sweet.
But I still find like especially when you get the enemies that require you to cape stun.
Yeah.
The sort of sometimes you'll push the button knowing it to do it, and it will go into something else that you accidentally pushed while trying to get it to do the last move. Getting it to be disciplined on the controls and get the timing right for the controls is actually quite a challenge.
Yeah.
And it's great. Don't get me wrong, free flow is awesome, but occasionally it's frustrating because you'll get multiple enemies coming at you at one time. You literally don't have the time to get the move in you want, to get the combo in.
Yeah.
Or to keep the combo going so you can start unleashing the specials. Like you'll be beating down a guy or something, and then another one will just mash you while you're in the middle of that move and you don't have the time to react to counter.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's irritating. Or you'll just nudge the guys with the stun stick as part of a move on a different guy. And then that causes you to stun, and it's like, oh, but I wasn't intending on going anywhere near that guy. And it's,
My tactic to give me time or whatever is just to flip over everyone constantly because it doesn't break your combo. So if you need time to flip over people, I do it constantly. Double tap A towards an enemy.
I find that's another thing I find a bit irritating with the controls is the double tap A to jump.
Yeah.
And the reason why that's irritating is often when I'm trying to get out of trouble.
Yeah.
Because A doubles as your run/climb.
Yeah.
Sometimes you push A trying to jump, and because that's how a lot of games do it, and you end up double tapping and rolling into the wall rather than climbing up the wall.
When you're out of combat,
when you're just running in general or trying to get away from something.
That's
There's a section with electrified floors that keep changing.
Yeah, there is.
And you're trying to climb up the thing and you end up sort of just rolling into them. It's like, no, get up, you bastard!
Can you hold... I can't remember. Can you hold A and run
some
and
of the time,
run into
Some of the time that works, but not all of it.
Right, yeah.
There are times where you've just walked, face palmed into the wall. Face palmed, that's not a word. Face planted into a vertical wall. Yeah. And that just sort of... It's a bit flaky, I think, that sort of... It's not quite as slick as what we've seen from some games. It's like it tries to do the Zelda automatic jump thing, doesn't it? Where if you walk up to an edge holding A, it will jump to the next ledge. But sometimes you just want to make him jump so you can, and then glide afterwards. But in those circumstances, he'll just fall and then glide. And it's like, no, that's not what I wanted you to do.
They do take a bit of getting used to.
It's inconsistent.
It is a bit like it's
the run
a good
jump
comparison.
thing's a bit inconsistent. I think it would be nice if it did the Zelda thing and just jumped.
Yeah,
like pretty much all the time. But he doesn't. The crouch up and while holding it A to drop down works fine. So why would you just want to fall when you could actually sort of ledge down and things like that? They've already come up with controls that would make you do that if you wanted it. So why not just jump all the time? It's rather kind of than trying to make him decide whether you want to jump or not. It's like, no, I didn't want you to do that.
It's kind of like me with my holding down or pressing the left trigger in Assassin's Creed. Why did they do it the other way? And then probably by the end of the game I'll have realised why they made that decision, or maybe I won't. Maybe I'll just think they were crazy.
Yeah.
But
at the moment, I think it seems like they could have just done the Zelda system with that if they were going to do it, or make a normal jump.
Yeah.
Just tap A to jump. That would have been fine.
Oh, by the way, about the neon guards or whatever, apparently they're fixing that for the sequel. So.
Yeah, so I've heard.
Yeah, so that'll be cool.
Well, it's the other things it asks you to do as well, like when you're tracing the sometimes frankly ridiculous evidence tracing.
That's very Batman. It's very Batman comic.
Well, it's a little bit ridiculous.
Sort of whiskey in the air or something.
Whiskey in the air I kind of like.
That was cool.
That was a pretty cool one. But fingerprints on walls.
Yeah.
Where there's like, how many walls has this woman just randomly touched on her route? Like, she's like the guy. I'm doing mime action here. This is great for radio, but she's like making sure. Oh, I'll touch that. Oh, I'll touch that. I'll touch that. And I'm not entirely sure she had the right frame of mind to be doing that for Batman's gain.
Well, maybe she was walking around and it was pitch black and she was trying to find a light switch.
It's quite lit up for.
Maybe it was pitch black when she was there.
Basically, that's just a clever Batman-y and quite cool, but you have to do it too many times. But it is just a way of hiding what is essentially the Fable 2 line.
Go here
thing. That's literally all it is.
It's alright, but it's another one of those things that means you end up having the detective mode on the majority of the time.
That's true, yeah, because it's sends you where you're going.
Because you might as well have it on. And actually, in fact, the detective mode also doubles up as night vision, kind of in some areas.
Yeah.
Where you can I can actually see the area now. I've got this turned on.
Yeah.
I am playing with the brightness turned up on mine, just because some areas are far too dark to actually see what's going on.
It is a dark game. I mean,
it's kind of to the point,
yeah.
but it's too dark in places. You can be stylized and have that dark look, being able to see.
Yeah.
It's I do love. There are so many little details though that are great, like how Batman gradually gets fucked up as the game goes on.
Yeah.
Like you gain that scratch on your suit quite early on along the boob.
Yeah.
And then a
couple
of bosses later,
cape.
you've got tears in the
Yeah.
cape, which mean how the hell did he glide anymore? But
I don't know, but it's cool.
It is cool. Those are neat.
So you've done that fight on the electrified floor with
that was
Harley Quinn gets
one of
captured.
the last things I did actually. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
That was quite nice.
That's for a challenge map later on as well.
Well,
when you go into that,
the 2 boss fights so far have been basically Bane, haven't they? Twice.
Yeah. Oh, the sort of chargy guys. Yeah. You get a lot of those.
The first one wasn't actually Bane, was he? I can't remember who he was, but like when Joker opens the crate and it's like he's a big un.
No, that's just 2 Venom. Venomed up, general henchmen.
Normal dudes. Oh yeah, and then it goes a bit wrong, doesn't it, with that first one? Because he sort of goes a bit mental.
Yeah.
But yeah, those 2. I thought that, oh god, it's just going to turn into like those Gears of War Big Bertha things. Are they called Big Berthas? I can't remember what they're called in Gal. But the blind things that sort of charge you down.
Yeah.
It's like, well, this is that again, isn't it?
It is kind of similar, I have to admit. I think that the first time you fight those Bertha things in Gears of War 1 is probably better than
that was
any
a nice
of those.
setting, wasn't
that was
it?
cool.
Although it did go on
first
a bit long
time.
in Gears of War. But
yeah, trying to get them to hit about 3 doors in a row was kind of annoying.
Yeah.
And then you had to hit them with the hammer door when they got outside. There was probably 1 too many chambers in that.
Yeah. So I got a little bit worried, when after seeing 2 of those bosses that are practically the same.
Yeah.
It's like, I know that's kind of the plot, but it's you're just like, it's a bit that streak reeks a little cheap.
Yeah.
And but yeah, it is good.
I mean, you get a few of those. I mean, they mix it up later by like you'll get 2 of those at once plus normal guys. So when you have to fight both at the same time, it really does mix it up. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not quite got the, as I say, it's not quite got the Metroid balance, but it is still class actually. And I'd actually think had we been doing this a couple of years back, it's an incredible contender for 2009's Game of the Year.
Where it was Uncharted 2.
Yeah, but
So
it's a pretty good contender.
It's goddamn close. Yeah.
I just the presentation of it all as well, the way the menus swoosh on and have
It's
that.
lovely, yeah.
It's fantastic.
And those guys came from nowhere. Rocksteady from London.
Yeah.
What was their previous game? There wasn't one. Was there?
I know of.
Yeah.
I think Rocksteady had done things, but
yeah, that's amazing what they did.
It is pretty incredible.
Get hold of an Unreal.
I don't like Batman actually in a weird way in this. I don't like his voice and some of the self. Actually, no. Hang on. This is one of the big flaws that I've missed.
Okay.
As good as some of the sound is, and as good as a lot of the voice work is, some of it repeats far too often. Like the Riddler, for instance, is an example of how nothing is repeated. But the incidental sounds over the radio, for instance, the Joker has that tendency of playing like things. Joke announcements over the tannoy and stuff. They repeat a lot.
They do repeat a bit too much.
Incredibly freaky. So you're just walking around the area trying to examine it and stuff, and then you're hearing messages for like the 4th time over, and it's like, this is really annoying now. Stop it. And I know they change after every major story event for the areas you go into.
You've still only got so many.
You've still only got 3 for that section, so they like those 3 loop really frequently. They could have just reduced the frequency or made it so those 3 just stop playing for a while after they do it. And all the characters do it as well when you're in an area.
So they talk back, don't they?
Yeah, because they're like saying, "Hey, Batman, come over here. Come on, over here now. Hey, Batman, come over here." It's that frequent at times, and it's just like, "No, stop it! Shut up."
I mean, when they do have, pre-written dialogue for the guards in a certain room, that's always really cool. When it's specific, unique. But when they revert back to their generic dialogue...
Yeah, that can get quite irritating. And like how most of the thugs will, as soon as a fight starts, pretty much always say, "It's the Bat."
This'll hurt! They say that a lot.
Oh, I haven't heard that one. Oh, I used to, right at the start of the game, I got a lot of the throw him on the ground and punch him in the face.
Oh, that was funny.
Which was funny the first time I heard it, but again, that comes up quite a lot in the early fights. It's like, throw him on the ground and punch him in the face. Yeah, that didn't work for you last time, did it? But,
Don't let them hit you, you idiot.
Oh yeah, that comes up a lot.
They say that a lot.
Yeah.
But it's okay. I quite like some of that. I mean,
But the thing is it's just not as funny as Mass Effect, so I can't really sort
one
of
less.
Yeah, one less. Well, they've seen this.
They see this is funny for a totally different reason.
Yeah, being contextually awful.
And when it comes out of a cutscene, then they've seen it. It's so funny. But yeah, I think the music's pretty good in Batman as well. It gets in my. It's quite low key, but it gets in my head.
I can't really remember any of the themes. It sort of does work, but it's all right. There are times where it's been a bit sort of like out of place. Well, there's been a section where you've ended up in a sort of exploration sort of state of the game, and you've got this like thumping drum in the background just going dum 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 dum.
Oh yeah, it hasn't quite faded out properly.
It's like there's nothing happening. Dum 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 dum.
Yeah,
I'm just walking casually.
It's a kind of failed iMuse system.
Yeah.
Do you remember when we used to, some games, but especially Deus Ex, where you use the iMuse system in order to tell when the guards have stepped down from their alert state to their patrolling state. You hide, and then you don't even need to look to see whether they've given up searching, because you just wait until the music changes and then you know. Yeah,
there's a few games that do that. There's a I can't remember what it is, but there was one I remember in particular having to use that tactic, because at the end of when it calmed down, it played like this specific sort of cymbal-y type noise. It'd be like
and then you knew.
And it's like, oh, it's safe. It's
safe now.
I've heard the symbol. The symbol of security.
The symbol of security. That's cool.
Can't remember what that was, but that was classic. So the music is good, but in places as you say, the contextual music stuff goes a bit wrong. At least it's not as bad as Red Dead's cut out the fucking song because I'm picking a herb.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. I don't know what the hell that was about.
Fucking herbs.
But I like the tapes as well that you pick up. I think as a pickup in the environment, as like a reward,
because they do actually kind of add, especially for me who hasn't really had any background with the comics.
Exactly, yeah.
It's nice to get a bit of fleshing out of some of the characters.
Even some of the more tertiary characters that they don't really appear in the game.
I mean, a couple of the riddles are a bit tough because of that reason, because they occasionally mention characters that I wouldn't have heard of.
Like there's a Harvey Dent one and stuff like that.
Harvey Dent's slightly famous because of the films now, but and Two-Face and all that. But there's a few, like the Great White Shark and stuff, that's like never heard of him before.
Yeah.
Or Clay. I kind of heard of Clayface, but I didn't know what the point of him was, so when he turns up.
Well, you collect biographies for them as well, don't you? And then you could then infer from that, but it's a lot of work.
Maybe, yeah. You kind of like some of the biographies. You get more biographies based on the number of challenges you do, and then you can go back and use those biographies to help you with some of the challenges to sort of get an idea of what you're looking for. But yeah, it's a tiny little bit out of place at times. Like this is one I still don't know about, where it uses the word strange, but in the description the word strange has got a capital S. So it's like maybe there's a character with Strange in their name.
Well, it's Hugo Strange.
Exactly. I don't know.
He's the main, not the main bad guy, because it'll obviously be the Joker, but he seems to be heavily involved in the sequel, Arkham City.
Okay.
Because Hugo Strange is like a psychiatrist, and he went crazy trying to find out who Batman was or whatever or something, or he wanted to be Batman, but he does actually know. He's the only person who knows who Batman is. Yeah, so that makes him dangerous or whatever. But supposedly Arkham City is the wing, which is basically a walled off area of city that is a prison for all the former Arkham inmates. It's being run by Hugo Strange, the psychiatrist or whatever. That's the idea, supposedly.
Interesting. So there you go. There's a character I wouldn't have known anything about. And it's like there's a description. I know he's about a character, I just don't know what the character is, and I don't know what he looks like, so therefore I don't know what I'm looking for.
Yeah, exactly.
Or anything like that. And so those ones are a bit tough.
I found that it made me interested in Batman. Like, I wasn't really interested before. I liked the films, but I didn't really care to like look into any comics or anything.
There's still something funny about a guy who wears his underwear outside his tights.
Yeah, it's quite weird.
Or wears tights.
But once you get past that... Yeah. I do like his... I know you're saying you don't like his voice and stuff, but I love the way everyone comes up to him and they're like, Batman, there's this problem and I'm in real trouble. He says, stay here. I'll deal with this.
I'll deal with this. Yeah, every time.
Every time.
And
it's so funny.
Like, but that was another example of the repeating sounds, though. Is when you like when you first discovered when you're using the tobacco trail. That was really because it said that every time you used detective mode and you weren't near the tobacco trail because you were exploring the area.
Right.
He'd say something like, "There isn't any tobacco here. I need to retrace my steps."
And again,
there's about 3 lines of dialogue for that. So if you're coming in and out of detective mode, he'll keep saying
he'll trigger it. Right.
Like, shut up. Just stop internal monologuing the same thing.
Yeah.
It's yeah. But it is good. Oh, and I had the only other, again, minor thing, because I think it's related to me only, is there are some audio syncing issues, but that seems to be commonplace for me at the moment.
Oh, right.
Because I had audio syncing issues in Portal 2. And I'm having them in Batman as well, where people seem to... I can't remember which way... Yeah, the audio seems to be faster than the animation in this case, which is the other way round to what it happens in a lot of games. In a lot of games, the video and the action on screen is happening quicker than the audio. But in Batman, the audio is quicker than what's going on. So you'll see video sequences of the Joker saying something, and the video will reach the end and just pause on the last frame while the rest of the audio plays out. And which is good in a way, because it means the game at least is aware of the audio it's playing and will time events to the audio, so it makes sure you hear it regardless, which is nice, because it means the game is generally working better. But it means some of the lip syncing is quite off.
Right.
Because in places you can see it, especially for the Joker, the lip syncing looks pretty good. And,
when it's on.
When it's on, yeah. But when it's not, it's noticeable. So yeah, minor flaw. Might be my PC, as it seems to be affecting a few things.
What do you think of the Mark Hamill's Joker?
Oh, it's awesome.
It's really good, isn't it?
It's totally awesome.
It's as good in a completely different way to the Heath Ledger Joker, I think.
Well, Heath Ledger makes it considerably more creepy and a little bit less jovial, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
The Joker in Dark Knight is considerably more sinister, whereas the Joker in this one is just a bit, he's just mental.
Yeah.
But
he's still frightening.
It's
he's still murderous, and he ggets quite upset later on. As you can imagine, and he's always joking, but he goes into this voice low down or whatever, and it is actually quite frightening eventually. No,
he's really good. He's really good.
He's very good.
I heard he was giving it up though soon.
Well, he said he'd never do it again, but he's going to do Arkham City.
Okay.
Because they must have convinced him.
Yeah, because it's good.
Because the thing is, he did the voice of Joker in the cartoon series, but that was for children, so he'd never killed anybody in that. So this is the same Joker, but actually now murderous and terrifying. Yeah. So it's interesting. Yeah, it's very cool.
It is indeed. So yeah, Batman. So far, pretty damn sweet.
Excellent. Glad you enjoyed it.
Getting some more single player out of the way.
Hurrying up and getting through all those games you need to finish.
The backlog. Well, but it's good to have a backlog of games this stage, right?
I honestly can't complain. For a $5 off the Steam sale, that was more than worth it so far. I
mean, I bought it when it came out, and I still managed to get it very cheap or half price. I was in Game Station in Southampton, and they just... And I remember seeing it. Yeah, it was half price, and I went, "And are you sure? Is this right?" Like, yeah. I was like, "Sweet."
But it's new.
People do not realise that this is awesome, or what? It was new. Yeah, I don't know what that was about, but anyway, that was good luck. Stroke of good fortune.
I think it sold, didn't it?
It did. Yeah.
It's not like
it got a Game of the Year edition. Yeah. And everything. Yeah.
It's not like it was an unsung hero.
No, I mean there wasn't much hype because. Nobody knew.
Wait, hang on. This means this is one of those years where there was definitely more than one Game of the Year in terms of marketing.
They always do that.
They always do that,
I know, but it's like Batman's Game of the Year edition and Uncharted had a Game of the Year edition.
Game of the Year edition doesn't mean it was Game of the Year, here's an edition of it. It means
somebody gave it.
This is a compiled version of all the fixes we've made over this year.
True. Yeah, but you need to have a certain number of Game of the Year awards, I think, in order to justify
of course, I didn't think of that. They could be from different locations.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be the Metacritic top scorer. It could be...
the official Xbox magazine's Game of the Year.
Exactly.
In which case, Uncharted 2 probably wouldn't have been on their list.
Exactly. So you can always game it, but you do have to have quite a bit of recognition. So, yeah, I think it deserves a Game of the Year in inverted commas copy at least.
Yeah, if you don't own a PlayStation, it probably would have been the contender.
That's true. Very true.
But yeah,
I don't know what PC games were out in that year. Probably some good ones, but not as good as
Borderlands? Was that
Yeah, that's not going to count close, though, is it?
For PC.
It's very good.
Well, Borderlands.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but come on. Uncharted 2, man.
No, well, true.
Yeah, but you said if we didn't have a PlayStation.
Okay. Well, okay. Anyway. I might be going to see a Q&A with Randy Pitchford, the CEO of Gearbox. Woo. So if you've got any questions that I can ask him about Borderlands, because I haven't played it, so that might actually be a good idea.
That might make it quite difficult to ask questions.
If you ask me the questions now, and then when I listen back to the podcast, I can write them down, and then I can ask him, and then I can report back. So have you got any questions for Randy Pitchford?
What do we want to know about? I'm trying to think of decent questions.
Yeah.
It's like, rather than just a normal one, we're going to see more claptrap bitches.
Oh, did you saw the claptrap proposal wedding?
Yeah,
marriage proposal.
That was awesome.
Check that out on YouTube, listeners. It's pretty awesome.
Top tip.
Yeah. Okay. Anything to ask the man? Yeah, he's producing Duke Nukem Forever right now. And in the past, they did. What did Gearbox do? They did the ports of Halo for the PC.
Yeah,
They did Opposing Force, which was freaking awesome.
Say, the expansions for Half-Life.
But that was like 10 years ago now, but it was still amazing.
Just ask him if the Last of Us of Borderlands 2 is going to be a giant eyeball coming out of a hole in a wall.
Okay. That's a bit mean.
Yeah. Well, I suppose if you're talking about Duke Nukem, is like, why did Gearbox pick it up?
They'll probably be asked that, but yeah.
For something so ridiculous, what made Gearbox want to take on such a...
I just want to know how messed up it was when they got it. When they got it, yeah.
How much work had they had to do to make it into an actual game as opposed to just Duke's shit in a toilet.
Yeah. I don't know. Anyway.
Real Dukies.
I shall ask the questions that need asking.
I suppose it was... Well, it'd be interesting to know how they, in general, just what they're doing and mix it up in Borderlands 2. Because, Borderlands 1's one of their biggest failings was that it was kind of... There was a lot to it, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot of the same shit, really. Like, go here, shoot some dudes, the end. It just needed more variation in what you were doing.
But how could they do... I suppose that's what people said about Assassin's Creed 1. I didn't really play that, but they kept saying, we needed more variation in what I was doing, because I kept doing these same kind of identikit missions all over the different cities. And so they seem to have fixed that by the time 2 came around. So I don't know if that's a good analogy with Borderlands.
Borderlands 1 might have been just proof of concept stuff, it's like, let's get it working. Get the majority of the base code down. Kind of like how we viewed Dance Central. Like they've got the basics down. Now they need to work on the icing.
But it is kind of a massive RPG in a way.
Apart from shoot things.
That's the $1 million question, isn't it? Really?
Well, it just needed more mechanics in the combat because most of it was just
more enemy types.
Stand around, shoot shit. It was you didn't have to have many tactics. The enemies are pretty stupid, to be fair. They're not like they have much in the way of AI. They just sort of walk towards you with their guns and occasionally run away to somewhere where there is no cover so you can shoot them some more.
See, that's what I don't really understand about it. It's like, I get the fetishism of the cool guns and stuff, and upgrading guns to be awesome. But it's like, what is the point in different tools if you don't have different uses for them, like different areas where, because that's in Halo, you've got different situations where you might want to use the shotgun.
I'm sure there's the odd enemies that, for instance, that you wouldn't try shooting rockets at because you'd never hit them in time.
But that's not enough, though, is it? Really?
I guess not. I mean, even I don't think even the elemental system in Borderlands was really abused enough because you just picked the one that did the most of whatever it was you wanted and didn't care. Well, I mean, occasionally you get those enemies that are resistant to one of the elements, but then you've got so many, 3 other elements to choose from, and it's like, that's an easy choice.
It wasn't really even a choice between the elements because they were actually inherently, it was obvious to everyone that some of them were clearly bad. It's like, you don't use lightning because A, nobody ever has any shields that you need to take off, which is the only reason to use it. And quite rare, B, it's a horrible effect.
Oh, no, the effect is quite cool.
It's incredibly loud and annoying and boosh! Yeah, exactly. And then fire was sort of okay, but corrosive was the only one that mattered. Because it was just corrosive just dealt so much more damage. It was damage over time, like fire, but with the armor degrading effect as well.
So do you think that was a balance problem, or do you think the whole system was no good?
It was I think maybe the error was making one of the elements corrosive, because that's like not an element, and therefore it has the effect of
how
armor.
How are they going to make like wind and water? I suppose.
Well, yeah, but it's just like it's like because they made it corrosive.
But
it's
explosive isn't really an element.
Well, no,
but
that was just like that may as well have not been an element as well, because that was just like explosive bullets. It's just
sudden damage.
That's just like a thing. It was particularly bad in cases where you were getting like the classic explosive element rocket launcher.
Yeah.
It's a rocket launcher that explodes with explosions.
Yeah. That is a bit dumb.
I don't know, that's kind of cool.
Well, because
it's not like what it sounds like, where there's, explosive rockets doesn't mean that...
There's no sub-explosion. It's just a different kind of explosion.
Cluster rockets. Come on.
But you do get cluster rocket launchers, but they
sort of.
But in a way, you get like the helix launchers and the spreader launchers and things like that, but they are specific types of launcher, and they could be explosive spreader launchers, which then had explosive type explosions. That's a bit dumb.
But what they really need to do for Borderlands 2 is just like make the gun creation system even more awesome. Because
that's the part that's good already, though.
It's not good enough. I don't think, because even though they say there's millions of different guns or whatever, and there really isn't. It's like, several times I've picked up literally exactly the same gun, because it's made of exactly the same pieces, with exactly the same stats. It's like, that's not random. Although, actually, that is random, because random means you can get the same thing twice, lol. But it's just like...
Of course it does.
It's just... I don't think... They didn't... It's like the guns are made out of 4 parts. Or 5 parts, or however many parts, and those parts are randomised. But I don't think there was actually enough differentiation between each of the individual parts.
I know what you mean. There are times where the visual...
Well, not just the visual.
You're just talking the visual. There are times where the visual differences between the guns are so slight that, sometimes it's hard to tell them apart. And I think they could have done some work on... Actually, with regards to picking out which guns are which, maybe you should be able to name tag your guns so you can highlight, this is the one I'm currently using for this. Or,
it would have helped if their inventory system wasn't just a list.
Or at least, make the menu system a little bit, PC-ify it, because probably worked fine on consoles, but it was just a little bit clumsy, like the Mass Effect 1 menu system. It was probably a bit clumsy on PC.
But it was like that. I think there's someone. I can't remember what game they were talking about on the Bombcast, but they were saying, I think it was in reference to Dragon Age and stuff, that there's a system where you have a separate part of your inventory where it just automatically puts junk items, and you can mark stuff you don't want as junk, and it puts it out of the way of your inventory.
It keeps junking them.
Well, yeah, so it's a separate list, but it's still in your inventory,
like a recycle
within your. Yeah, it's like a folder, basically.
That's quite cool.
That's all you need. You just need folders that you can shove stuff into.
It's kind of like the highlighting in Torchlight.
It's an inventory, basically.
It's like the highlighting in Torchlight. Anything that's not green or purple or anything.
Well, that does help in Torchlight. Right? It's just you just sort them by colour, basically.
It's quite ironic that most inventories in games don't allow you to inventorise them because that's the whole point of inventorising, is putting things in different boxes, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then it's like
rather than just a list.
Inventory is just inventory in a game just means big box. When you jumble everything up.
Well, sometimes it's like if you think about Deus Ex, where it's you're putting things in specific places. That's sort of another version of it. It's it's a big mess, but it's a big mess that you actually sort of have to think about.
Slightly. I heard that there was some kind of grid thing going into Deus Ex 3.
Yeah.
So that sounds hilarious.
Or back to the old style.
Sort of, I don't know.
I can't fit the rocket launcher.
I don't know if it'll be quite that bad, but...
Maybe they'll invent something even more ingenious.
Because I
awesome.
Kind of liked it and kind of didn't.
Yeah.
So, maybe they'll strike a balance.
It was quite a nice idea for
Hang on, what's it called? Because I keep saying Deus Ex 3, and it's not Deus Ex 3 anymore.
Human Revolution.
It's Deus Ex Human Revolution. Anyway, carry on.
It was an okay idea for having unlimited space in your inventory, and you can only carry certain stuff.
Yeah.
But the main reason everyone didn't like it is because you basically couldn't carry 2 heavy weapons, and the heavy weapons were the awesome ones.
Yeah. And there was the slight annoying bugs Oh yeah, you couldn't pick people up until you'd emptied their inventory because it was on the same button. But if you didn't have enough space in your inventory, you then could not pick them up at all unless you
chuck stuff out of the pile,
so that then you could get what's on them, which you then chuck away.
That was one of the great things, though, wasn't it? When you chuck stuff out, because it literally made a pile.
Yeah. That so
cool. If you look straight down, you could just build an infinite pile of bottles or something.
I'm still waiting for the first game that's going to allow you to stack bodies on top of each other, like ragdolls that don't go through each other when you put. Because every Splinter Cell game, you put someone in a closet and then you go and knock someone else out, and you put them on the same spot, and they just go through each other. I mean, I know that's a difficult thing to do in real time. Maybe having the skeletons.
The more difficult thing will be getting the animation of your character to be right to lay it on the pile.
Yeah, well, the way Sam Fisher does it is just sort of dumb.
It wouldn't be necessarily the physics of ragdolls, because I'm sure they could do it, but it's
the height of the pile would be the thing.
The animation
fuck
thing.
Up your animation.
Yeah, if you actually made a pile as high as you, and you're having to sort of like put them on top.
The literal piles of bodies would be so cool. I mean, everyone talks about piling up bodies in shooters, but they never literally pile up.
It'd be pretty cool, actually, in some like
Serious Sam.
No, think about it. If you're like in a horde mode game of some
Sam would make it impossible to play the game because the level would get clogged up with bodies. It'd be so cool.
Just imagine if Left 4 Dead did that, or some sort of survival game where you could make walls of the dead in order to fortify your position.
But that would you can't do that because that would fuck up all the level geometry. Like, you could climb to places you weren't meant to go or whatever.
Well, maybe, but you could design hard walls and stuff to stop you going out of level and things.
That'd be fun, making stairs out of bodies just to get out of places.
Well, that would be an ingenious just imagine that in Deus Ex if the bodies were like physics operable instead of the classic plan like I did in Deus Ex, where it like pile crates into climbing towers. You just start piling corpses to climb into places.
You could use them to rate your fall as well. You could shove body off a cliff and then try and land on it. Squelch. There we go.
It probably wouldn't break your fall that much.
No, but anyway.
Well, it'd be great if you could just throw piles of random crap off buildings to break. Although you do that in like Half-Life 2 or something, don't you? Like cardboard boxes?
Yeah,
break your fall several times?
You do. I mean, I used to try and make it work in Deus Ex, because there's that bit where you have to go up onto the top of a tower and they're friendly to you, but as soon as you activate the thing in the tower, you then have to fight your way out. And I used to pile, because I knew I'd have to escape.
Yeah.
So I used to pile up cardboard boxes on the side so that I could just jump off the roof into the boxes, but they don't properly break your fall in the original Deus Ex. They actually hurt you more because you impact 5 times instead of once. So it's actually better to turn on your augmentation that gives you fast running or whatever it is, strength legs, and then just jump straight off the building.
You could probably easily make that even without that augmentation, because of course naturally, this being a game of this type, you've stocked up a shit ton of health kits and stuff because you never use them ever.
But if you didn't have them, then it would, because it's hilarious Deus Ex, your legs would disappear and then you wouldn't be able to move very fast. You'd crawl, wouldn't you? Because it had that ridiculous...
It's not really crawling, though.
Had that ridiculous compartmental damage system, which was really dumb.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't know. It was okay.
It's like the infantry, it was kind of cool.
Everything was kind of cool, yeah. Man, it's a good game. I can't wait till Deus Ex 3.
What the hell were we talking about before we got on to all that shit?
I
have a feeling... Oh yeah, that's right, Borderlands. I have a feeling there was an important point that was going to be made.
Back to Gearbox.
It wasn't that poignant.
Shut up. I was talking about the bits of guns, wasn't I? About how I thought they could make that system. I think they should really... They could have done a lot more to make the variants, because it's like only the shotguns have that holy crap it shoots rockets ability that makes them fire rockets instead of shells.
Right.
It's like there should have been more things like that. Like,
just imagine an SMG that fired rockets, though.
Well, not necessarily literally that, but things like that actually did more interesting things. Because it's like you don't really. Where was like. They could have made, like, slug-firing shotguns.
That actually fired slugs.
It's a thing.
Yeah, I know, but it sounded funny.
Yes, I'm sure it did.
Knowing Borderlands, they probably would have that.
Maybe that's true. It's like, they could have done...
little seashells coming out of it. 5 shells.
They could have done They could have done more bits that did actual mechanic-changing things, I think. Because it's not... It's like all the bits really do is change the stats.
Yeah.
I don't think that's enough. They should have made more variants in the actual...
Yeah, more combinations.
Projectiles and stuff.
That would be cool.
That's what they need to do, basically.
I love games where you think, will this combo actually do something cool? And then when you try it, and it does. Like, they've thought of that. Like, I don't know, this is just a generic thing.
I'm trying to think of an example.
Yeah, I'm sure there have been examples where you think, what if I do this? Oh, cool. that totally works. That's always great when they put that much effort in.
Isn't that kind of what Dead Rising 2 is with the weapon?
Well,
yeah, that kind of thing.
Except those are sort of inferred combos.
Yeah,
like,
they are kind of
I can pick up this random crap. I wonder if I might be able to combine it with some other random crap.
It's like mixing on the old inventory things, isn't it? It's like we try and mix items together to make new items.
I guess. Yeah.
Like TF2's crafting engine.
Except a lot better than that.
Yeah.
I can't think of any decent examples.
Word synthesis from FF9, I suppose.
Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah.
But that's very telegraphed, I guess.
Well,
or anything that involves... But that's
less so.
But I suppose that could count any game where you need a certain number of items to make something else.
Well, it was less telegraphed in, like, 8's was fairly obscure.
I know a combo, this is dumb, but Red Alert 2, that vehicle that you shoved, like,
oh,
dogs
what, the
into.
IFEs?
Yeah. Or, apparently in Red Alert 3, you can put a dog...
the old dog water.
Yeah, and it, like, has, like... What is it? It has like a loudspeaker that
barks at people.
Yeah, it's like a Sonic scary killer bark, or depending on what you put in, and everything worked, didn't it? The engineer made it into a cool repair vehicle, which was obviously the most useful one.
Yeah.
And what else?
Well, you could have put chrono troops in there.
Yeah.
Or put Tanya in there for the anti-infantry, I think.
See, that's the kind of thing that is cool, you know? I know that's a bit of a weird analogy with Borderlands weapons, but just the way that they thought of every combo and made it something special, you know.
Well, I suppose Borderlands isn't anything like that because you don't control the combos. It's not like the examples we're thinking of at the moment are that, you know, you do something.
It still wouldn't have to be like a crafting system, though. I mean, random is still good, and if it, you know. The idea of having a totally random and ridiculously huge pool of weapons to draw from is sort of cool. Yeah. You can't do what like Torchlight does. If you're going to have a huge random pool of randomly scattered weapons, like Borderlands does at the moment, you couldn't combine that with what Torchlight does, which is like give them unique names, because then you're just inherently making people think that you want to collect them all, and because it's a random pool, you're never going to collect them all, and you'll just grind it forever, and it will waste all your time.
Would you? Do people try and collect them all on those games?
Of course they do. What are you talking about?
I thought it was just collect the good shit, was how it worked.
Well, the good shit is the named stuff.
Oh, and then you get rid of the old stuff, but...
Well, in Torchlight, it's like, you get upgraded versions of the same stuff. I guess, with different stats. But it's like, so if they do, it's like the Borderlands system, they shouldn't put any, I mean, there are named guns, obviously, in Borderlands, but there aren't very many of them.
Yeah.
And it's obvious when you're going to get them, because they're generally linked to, like, a boss or whatever.
Right.
Like a boss.
Exactly. So, huge random pools of random weapons is fine. Just don't input any collect, or like
they should have randomly generated names, Dwarf Fortress style or whatever.
That would also be cool.
So you find the epic burner Doginator or something, and it shoots dog barks or something, and it's just like that has been completely randomly generated. And no one has found that before.
Yeah, well, you've hit the nail on the head. I think Borderlands gun selection would have been far more interesting if they just had more
variant.
Yeah, the occasional super, relatively rare but ultra random thing, like a dog bark gun, for instance, or or a cerebral boar or something.
It's
from
still got
going Turok, or an inflator. Remember the inflator? How awesome was that gun?
But even with the random system, it still has to be a legitimate weapon. It can't be random and really stupid.
Yeah,
impossible to use.
In Borderlands, that would kind of fit the world.
I think maybe what they should do. It's maybe going into ridiculous complicatedness, but this Borderlands 2 system, what they should do is take the Borderlands 1 system, add all these new and interesting parts that we've already discussed, like that actually make the guns different, and then give you the ability to somehow craft guns by like taking interesting bits off guns and putting them onto new guns.
Yes.
Well, what you mean? So if you think the guns, the way the guns are generated are currently in parts,
Yeah.
make the parts the random bits, and then let
Well, the
you
parts are the
combine
random
them
bits,
together.
but that'd it so you have access to that somehow.
Man, that'd be a
Don't
whole-
necessarily make it easy.
Man, that would be a whole crazy level of complexity, but kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because think of because then the community would then have something to talk about in the sense that they'd have combinations they could try and go for.
Yeah, because if there was a cost associated with recrafting, then you couldn't just try every combination. So you'd have to look on the internet and like find what
there's a problem right there. It's sort of like doing the research to find killer combos.
But if it's
Essentially,
not a
and
competitive situation, you're not necessarily so worried about killing.
Well, no, but the problem is that if the cost is too large, then it means you don't experiment as a player.
Yeah.
Because you end up feeling like you're wasting your resources on something that ends up not working. No matter how ridiculous it ends up being, it might not actually be effective. Like the wave guns in Borderlands, aren't they? They're sort of like they look cool and they're a kind of a neat concept, but they're actually bloody useless. And it's you don't really want to have to stifle the player like that.
Yeah,
they've got to be, having a too big a cost, and then, as you say, making people look things up on the internet to get the killer combos means they'll always be gunning for something which, given the large number of random components, might not be attainable.
That's true.
And so you'll end up not experimenting.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
I don't know. There's a
it's
balance
the same
there.
problem with like it's another element of the same problem of like collecting named shit.
Yeah.
It's like if you give the
Although-
people the ability to randomly find something that's awesome,
Don't get me wrong. Things like that
people
would
are
be
going to grind it.
cool, and Borderlands is one of those games where you will get the grinding players,
Yeah,
like yourself.
That's cool.
And
That's what Borderlands is
but
about.
I'm, Borderlands is one of those games where I did get into a bit of the grind, but if they make it too ridiculous, it will be a level of grind I could never be arsed with.
Right, yeah.
And it's,
but you like cool guns.
I do like cool guns.
Don't you wish? It's like, don't you wish that you could have taken one of the guns that you had that was totally awesome, taken the awesome bit off it, and attached it to a more powerful gun?
Yeah,
It's like the roaster or whatever. You use that
Oh,
stupid
yeah.
flame rocket launcher.
The roaster
If
was
you'd just
amazing.
been able to get a more powerful rocket launcher and attach the roaster
roasty
part.
bit,
I think there might be some quite fun, not as crazy as Borderlands, but there might be some quite fun weapon customization in Mass Effect 3 from the sounds of it. Like somewhere between...
Because they've
The other way again.
gone too far with Mass Effect 2 and now brought it back up again.
Yeah, but 1 didn't really have many cool things you could attach to guns. I mean, you could make the stats better, but...
Well, it had the
some
occasional
cool
cool thing. Like the pointless hammerhead rounds or whatever.
Yeah,
where it
yeah.
was like 500% knockback and damage, but overheat your gun in one shot.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They weren't used enough. They were awesome.
That
Yeah.
kind of thing, if they bring that back, that'd be cool. Yeah, we shall see.
Yeah, that's another thing they could do. Do you remember knockback guns in Borderlands would be pretty awesome. You could send enemies flying all over the level.
That's true, but they need to... If they were going to do that, the AI would need to be slightly better. Because otherwise they wouldn't know what the fuck to do.
Yeah, it'd be like, oh,
Because
shit,
it's bad
we need
enough
to-
when they get blasted very slightly by explosions, and then they're like, fucked up, because they don't know where they are, or whatever.
Mm.
And I did all of Mass Effect 1 with a pistol.
Yeah, basically.
Because it was freaking
It was
sweet.
the best gun.
I know.
It's like the assault rifle wasn't accurate enough, and the pistol was way more accurate, but not as ridiculously underclipped as the sniper rifle.
But they made the assault rifle pretty cool in 2.
Well,
I did actually use the shotgun quite heavily in Mass Effect 1. I found that and the pistol were the best combo.
Cool.
Because the sniper rifle had very few uses.
Use a shotgun in Mass Effect 1.
I know, I did have a playthrough where I made the... Because I think I did it one way around. I did pistol assault rifle and made sure those skills were up in the first time I played through. No, I'm getting confused.
Well, what class were you? Because that determines what
No,
guns-
that was it. I ignored the pistol the first time I played through and went and did assault rifle.
Well, that's because if you were playing soldier the first time through, you knew that you'd have to use the pistol
Yeah.
one and the other classes the same
So I think
time.
I did assault rifle and shotgun training the first time I played through as the soldier guy, and then the second time, obviously, I had to specialise a bit more, so I had pistol sniper, I think.
Yeah.
And it's like, the sniper was a bad choice, and I realised that about halfway through the game and switched to shotgun again. And it's
I think for my full playthrough of Mass Effect 1, I went soldier and I still used the pistol all the way through. It's like, fuck it.
Well, I mean,
Fuck it.
the overload stuff in... I mean, not overload. the assault rifle ability
Yeah.
is pretty good. Although then again, the pistol basically has that, but in pistol mode,
It does,
marksman,
yeah.
where it's just like becomes super accurate and you can fire super fast.
Yeah. That was so damn cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kinda wanna play that game
If
now.
Mass Effect 3 is a middle ground, then it will be amazing.
I think it will be good. Yeah. So that's some vague questions to ask Randy Pitchford.
Yeah, I don't think we came up with anything there.
Yeah, so that's a big question to ask him. What do you think of Mass Effect 3?
Well, we basically just designed Borderlands 2 for him there, right there. Spent about half an hour designing a game, even though we have no clue how.
It's like
What's
I
that
don't
we're
think-
talking about?
You sound like good guys. Can we have some royalties?
I don't think we designed it as such as just like stated the obvious.
Maybe.
Like this is surely what they're going to do. Surely
We just sat on our ass and created a whole lot of work for a lot of people to do.
it's not that much, right? They already have the
Making all these
random gun
thousands
system and stuff.
Yeah, but making them all like unique and crazy. Anyway,
And a dog bark.
and a dog bark system. Anyway, right, Zach, what have you been playing?
Did Rob finish? I wasn't paying attention at the end of his shit.
I don't
Have
know.
I finished? Oh no, carry on.
He
come
doesn't
back
know,
to him.
okay.
I'm still playing Final Fantasy.
Oh yeah,
Of course.
It's still the same. Nothing's changed. I'm done.
fair enough.
Are you up to 20 hours yet?
Yeah, I'm past 20 hours.
Oh no. So you're actually being slow?
Probably.
What do you mean? It's 20 hours
Well,
when
I
it
Like
gets...
20 hours is supposedly when it gets good.
Oh, right.
Well, I'm making sure I finish. I think the bit after where I'm at is where it'll... Because all the characters have come together, kind of. There's a couple split out. It still doesn't give me the ability to change battle teams or anything like that, so I can't organise who's in my party and who I actually want to use yet.
Right.
But it's getting to the point where at least all the characters will be in the same place, which means that moment of... here comes...
The moment of getting out of the tutorial.
It's starting to give me more, during this section it's given me more three-player, free character fights, because for the majority of the game so far you've only had 2 members in your party, which is okay, but the amount of options you have or useful tactics are kind of limited. Whereas if you think about the roles that each character can have, when you split that among 2 characters, that doesn't make very many combinations. But then when you've got 3 characters, the number of combinations you could possibly have suddenly explodes and you have to start thinking about, though you can't have every combination at your disposal whenever you want. So you'll enter some fights ill-prepared, thinking, oh shit, if only I had that paradigm right now, I could activate that and my problems would be solved. But for now, I'll have to make do.
Right.
And it's like all of a sudden the mechanics have become that bit more interesting because we've got 3 characters. But it will open up again when I can start playing with the battle roster, because then I can start finding the ultimate team, if you know what I mean.
But who is going to be your ultimate team is fairly obvious, really, out of those choices.
Anyone with large HP. Because that seems to be the way that most of it works at the moment. Gotta have Saz.
Yeah, obviously.
Saz Katzroy.
Gotta have Saz Katzroy.
It's basically going to be that dude, that new Lancer woman who can also heal.
She can't heal.
She can heal, can't
She's
she?
a saboteur.
No.
She's a sentinel and a saboteur as well as an attacker.
Oh.
So she can block heavily or start inflicting status ailments upon enemies, which at the moment pretty much only includes slow.
I thought her defense included some kind of passive heal.
Oh,
or
no,
something.
yeah, passive heal for herself.
Oh, right, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that counts as large HP.
Yeah, a lot of HP. Which kind of at the moment... But then again, Snow is better if I wanted a Sentinel-type character, because he's super strong and has even more health points and has the sort of retaliatory guard, which is a bit weak. Which is a bit weak, but yeah, it's quite nice. But yeah, I'm thinking about it. I don't know who I'd take in my team, because the trade-off, you wouldn't really want both Snow and Fang in your team. You'd have to have one or the other.
Yeah.
Lightning is fairly flexible because she's relatively powerful. She's not as strong as Fang and Snow, but she's alright, and also has a medic ability.
Yeah.
So she's like a relatively good fighter who can heal. That's quite nice. Then again, like Vanille's the other saboteur, so she can. Yeah, Vanille. She's the other saboteur, but I don't know quite what her specialisation is. And Saz will act as the synergist on your team. But this is the annoying thing. It's like, as much as I hate Hope, his defensive synergy skills are actually quite useful.
I hate it when that happens in games.
It's like, yeah, I don't want him as a character. He's fucking weak.
Yeah.
His attack power is shit, but for his heal and defensive buffs, so far he's pretty invaluable. At the moment, I'm starting all my fights with him set to synergist to make sure everyone's buffed up before the fight. At the start of the fight.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's really useful. But I'd wish Saz had the defensive buffs instead, because he's offensive buff.
Just as long as
maybe the roles will start to blend more, as they go through their skill trees. So maybe they'll start gaining each other's sort of synergy powers. But
just as long as the people you pick in your team doesn't influence who appears in cutscenes, which it won't.
Oh, it might. Yeah, there might become a point where that starts to happen. At the moment, they don't. But presumably, if the battle team's changeable, then they'll probably be all travelling. They'll make the story like they're travelling together, I guess. So it'll get whoever's relevant to the scene on screen.
No, but then they'll all be there, so any of them could still be on the screen.
Yeah, so
it won't just be the 3 people you pick.
True, so I'd still have to put up with Hope.
Yeah, but then you could have him in your team, and it would mean you'd have to put up with him anymore.
That's true.
I had that problem in KOTOR, because do you remember the old grumpy Jedi, the black dude who lived on the forest floor? And I pretty much had to take him with me because he was a freaking Jedi. Well, who I really wanted was HK-47, but he was a robot, which was rubbish. I mean, no matter how good you made him, he could never use any force moves or anything cool. Mm. He had, technical abilities or whatever it was.
But you just wanted his conversation.
Yeah, and you had to take him with if you wanted his awesome conversation. But I always had to take grumpy boots Jedi guy, which was really annoying. But in Mass Effect, that's kind of tempered by the fact that almost every character is pretty cool, so you don't have that problem quite so much. Yeah. Although Grumpy Jedi wasn't a bad character, he's just... HK-47 was just so damn cool that he was pretty lame combat-wise. I think so, anyway.
Yeah.
And also he was mega dark side as well, so he would always say, dodgy things.
I'm trying to remember, actually, I was thinking back to Mass Effect 2's characters... who I didn't really like, actually.
Jacob.
other than teeth not moving Jacob.
Jacob was the only one.
He was pretty boring, yeah. But
Jack...
Because I kind of like Tali, but I think I like her for the wrong reasons, because but she's not that interesting a character, actually, when you think about it, but she's the moral compass, I guess.
Which one's she?
The Quarian.
Oh, no, she's cool.
But I think
I liked her story.
But when I think about it, I think it's mostly because she has that cool accent. I don't know. There's something cool about it.
Yeah, she has a good voice. I don't know. What did I say before? Oh yeah, Jack. I find her slightly annoying at first. Actually,
Jack is pretty fucking annoying, actually.
Yeah.
And I'll use swearing to describe her because it seems apt. You're fucking annoying.
Grunt is just boring.
Grunt isn't as cool as Jack.
He's not a character.
And I don't like her emotional twists.
No.
In the story.
Jax,
they just seem a little extreme. But I know that's supposed to be her character, but they're just awkward. And maybe it's because, again, wrong reason, but her appearance is kind of a bit of a turn off. It's I don't really want to be seeing that to a point.
What about the Asari crazy wizard lady? What was she?
I forget her name.
Wizard
power. What was she?
Biotic.
But she was some kind is
it a matriarch?
She wasn't a matriarch.
That's an old one.
Yeah.
Just generally named for an old one.
She was some kind of awesome special forces thing. I can't remember what it was.
They have the code. I have to follow the code.
That's right. I thought I liked all the characters, but I don't know if I'd take her with me on all the missions, because I don't really...
I think she'd have got a bit heavy if you took her on too many, because of the, everything would be steeped in lore and code and for loops.
You just want Morden to make hilarious comments all the time.
And sing.
Yeah, exactly.
More singing. I wonder if there'll be like a mercenary opera singer.
He'll definitely sing again, provided you have a save where he didn't die. I'm sure he'll do some singing in Mass Effect 3.
I don't know.
Go compare.
I don't think they can...
Go compare.
Advertising break.
Yeah, what the other brands are available.
But it's I don't think, that's one of the things they might not do. It's like the cakes in Portal, where it's there's no cakes in Portal 2, we're fed up with that shit.
It's not that annoying.
Well, it's the same level of ridiculous fan, everyone's oh!
Actually, is it much of a spoiler to talk about the lack of cakes? Because...
There is still... The Bombcast guy said there was no cake, and there totally is. Well, there's not
they
a
keep
literal
getting
cake.
It wrong.
Well, no,
they said about the G-Man thing, and you said that was total rubbish on that page. Well, they said it again this week. It's as if it was definitely there.
Well, maybe I'm wrong, I'm fairly convinced it was total rubbish.
Okay.
But I'm not the one looking at news stories or anything.
Anyway, cake.
Yeah, I don't know. The point I was going to make is that Portal 1 had that awesome... the cake was the big deal, wasn't it? And it stuck with the game, and it was... out of everything that people took out of Portal, you'd talk about the cake, or you'd reference the cake, or someone would talk about the cake being a lie.
Would be it.
Yeah. There are references. I don't think Portal 2 really has a come away, if you see what I mean.
A line like that.
Yeah.
Well,
everyone's
going on about
right at the end
lemons.
Well, it has one, and it's right at the end of the game, and I can't... I just keep saying that one, but I don't think it's going to be like...
What one? Dan can't hear it, but
next week.
I can't talk about it.
Can you even give me a clue where exactly it happens?
La 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 la. La 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 la.
Yeah, well, okay, but that's not exactly an amazing line or anything.
No, but
they're not going to be able to tell what you're talking about.
Yeah, but that's good, because then we're not spoiling it for them either.
Yeah, but they don't care what you're talking... We have to...
Look, the only thing I'll say is it's right at the very end.
Okay,
I mean, literally right at the very end.
It was funny, but it wasn't a spectacular line or anything.
I know, I just find it hilarious.
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone's going in Portal 2. Well, that's the thing, it doesn't have that takeaway, so I don't think it will be quite so...
Well, in Portal 2, everyone's going on about the lemons.
I don't even know what that is.
Where Cave Johnson makes that rant about lemons.
Oh, yeah, lemons.
That was the one. That's the one that everyone's clinging on to now from Portal 2.
It is.
I don't like that. No. I don't think that's a very good. I don't think that's one of his better lines.
Oh, well.
It's a good set of story, but it's kind of random. But it's I don't. Again, it's not like a meme. It's not like.
It's like his character is pretty awesome. Like most of the stuff he says is pretty awesome. But that bit, it's like he's meant to be making this awesome rant
when his character starts to shift.
Well, he gets angry and he's ranting, but it's not as good as the other things he says. It's not as well written as the other parts.
Yeah.
So it just.
I suppose there is one take, but the weird thing is about all this. The one thing people probably won't take away from Portal 2 is potatoes.
That's true, but they're not funny.
There's something funny about GLaDOS saying the word potato.
Only to you.
Potato. Yeah, maybe that's
just because you like potato. You like the word potato.
I do like the word potato.
Yes.
Potato.
No zombie is safe from Chicago Ted.
That's not a good reference. I never got why people were so incredibly excited about that.
That was pretty cool.
It's just like, wow, you can read this shit off the wall.
I know, but that was a funny one. That was definitely the funniest one of all of the things written on the walls.
Yeah, I guess.
Anyway, it's a bit of a classic. Portal 2 news, free DLC coming on PC, PS3, and free on Xbox 360.
Oh, it's actually free on Xbox.
Microsoft have said that
nice.
They obviously don't want to be the one people charging for otherwise free content.
No, that's a smart move, Microsoft, because that probably... the Left 4 Dead guys probably weren't best pleased. And that's why Left 4 Dead 2 probably hasn't seen the support anywhere near the support that PC.
Also, they don't want to be charging for it because it shouldn't cost anything regardless.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether they were going to make it free on Steam, because it's clearly just shit that they should have put in the goddamn game.
Yeah, if they're announcing it already, then if it was like advanced chambers and stuff like that, then they pretty much should have been there already. It's not like they haven't had time to put it in.
I suppose. Well, at least they're coming, and they're coming free to all platforms. And also,
maybe they just want to do a bit of extra playtesting to make sure they are properly advanced and don't have cheat solutions.
But finding cheat solutions is also advanced if you can find the trick.
Also, the way they've announced it implies there will be more than one
you'd hope.
lot of DLC as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
As long as it's not all co-op, though. I don't know.
As long as they're not just as long as they're not just variants of the existing ones, like the advanced chambers were before. I'd like to see brand new chambers.
Well, yeah, if they're going to keep on making this shit. I mean, if this first one, I wouldn't mind if it was just advanced versions of chambers, because it's like.
Well, the reason why I say that is because they've got plenty of mechanics that, as we discussed, are relatively underused.
I think if they were going to make a new set of test chambers with new geometry, I think they would have to charge for that. Don't you?
No, because they should have been there.
But there's a whole game there already.
But not long enough. Portal 1 had advanced test chambers.
Yeah, but they weren't new geometry. They were just
true, but they still had
levels.
them.
Yeah, but that's what they're giving free.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? It comes down to that whole price point again. Orange Box was a ridiculous bargain, there's no denying that. But Portal was one of the smaller parts of it. And yet you still got about the same amount of game as we've had for a full price product on its own. You know, the campaign is that little bit longer. I've known people that have supposedly cleared it on their first playthrough in about 5 hours, which is screaming at me, not full price game.
Yeah. The classic thing that everyone was saying on the internet was like 4 hours, and then people were like, "You can't do it in 4 hours." They said it was totally wrong. I reckon you probably could do it in 4 hours. I might try a speedrun just to see how fast I can get through it.
Game trailers are on the side of there's no possible way of doing it in 4 hours. Even when they were rushing it, took 6 or 7 for them. But then, as
don't think so.
As I say, these guys I've spoken to have said 5.5 first playthrough, easy. Yeah. And I'm like, a bit of me is like, how the fuck did you do that on your first playthrough? I mean, didn't you spend any time to sort of like examine the environment? Admittedly, they said no, but it was like, you know, so you didn't probably soak in the Portal world, but...
What's the point if you can... I don't know.
Time, if you don't have the time commitments, then you kind of have to speedrun games by habit. But...
Well, then don't complain then if you have to speedrun everything. I'm not saying you. I'm just saying if you're speedrunning a game and I'm complaining it's not long enough.
Well, he wasn't kind of saying it as a complaint. It was just sort of saying that's how long he took it.
Right, fair enough.
Took him. And it's like, I'm using it as a complaint because it does kind of...
But they're clearly okay with spending that money and speedrunning it like that. That's what they wanted to do and they've done it.
True.
Content isn't necessarily... It's like the content that they're skipping is like standing around listening to dialogue. It's like they're not missing out on more puzzles or anything. They haven't taken a shortcut to avoid parts of the level.
Yeah, anyway. Yeah.
They're just because, like, when a bit of dialogue said at the start of a chamber, I'd just be looking about but making sure that I didn't do something that interrupted the speech.
Yeah.
You know? Not that Portal 2 is bad for that in any way. There's no way of kind of, like, skipping bits, really. But, you know, we stood, as we've talked about before, we stood around listening to the defective turrets. And because that's freaking awesome. I must have added an extra half hour to my game time just standing around listening to those dudes.
And I went through it on the second time and spent another half hour, so I probably added a whole hour of extra just listening to defective.
But yeah, you know what I mean. It feels Portal 2 does feel content deficient.
Fair enough.
Even though there are top tier shooter games.
You haven't played the co-op yet.
No, I haven't played the co-op yet. But I think even with that being the same length, it feels content deficient. Even the top tier shooters, even though they only last. Well, like Gears of War, for instance, is probably an 8-hour slog if you do it without retrying. And that's kind of like, if you're dying a lot or you're playing on hard difficulty levels, it's going to take you a lot longer than that to get through it.
Yeah.
And it's, it took me about 7 hours to get through Vanquish. And yeah, that's kind of content deficient as well, I feel. It's awesome, but it's a little bit sort of like lacking in terms of what you end up doing. And maybe it's because, maybe that's precisely it. Maybe because Portal is relaxed, that 7 to 8 hours
doesn't feel as long.
Doesn't feel so epic because you're not stressed out. You're not going, ah, for that 7 or 8 hours.
You're not adrenaline.
Yeah, that it feels shorter. Which is weird because that's kind of the backwards to what the theory is, isn't it? It's like, time flies when you're having fun, but
well, you're having a different kind of fun.
Yeah. I don't know. It doesn't feel. It's probably unfair and kind of biased opinion, but for me, it feels a bit of a jip.
I'll let you know what I think once I've played it next week.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting my PC back, so you'll hear Portal 2 reportage.
It's totally awesome, but I wish it was £20 rather than full price.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't it be a better thing to say it's totally awesome, but you wish it was longer? Not that you wish it was cheaper.
Well, no. As it stands, it's kind of nicely paced and all that, but I kind of wish it was. If they weren't to change the game in any way, it should have been a tiny bit cheaper. Saying that though, if the amount of DLC they have planned and want to do is anywhere near the level of support they've given to their previous games...
You can't say that in reference to TF2.
Well, no, you mean Left 4 Dead.
TF2 is ridiculous, but even Left 4 Dead 2 has had quite a ridiculous amount of support. Not in the terms of extra campaigns, I suppose. That would have been nice to have had a few more, rather than remakes of the first ones. But, maybe that would have had a bit more. But if they push that again, then maybe it's starting to justify it.
Yeah.
We shall see.
And it is Valve, so I have high hopes.
I have high hopes of them putting more hats in.
Fuck the hats. They don't.
They're gonna.
That's a TF thing. Fuck it.
It's not though. That's the problem.
No,
it's in everything.
Well, it's because it's literally pointless in this one.
It's literally pointless in Portal 2. But there you go. It's the future
of hats.
Anyway, so were we talking about something you'd been played? We
never
did.
No, we never.
I diverted back to Rob and then we spent some more time talking about other stuff, which was probably good filler.
Have you been playing anything?
If Dan hasn't been playing anything as he claims.
I haven't, yeah. Tell you one thing, I watched you play.
Yeah.
My brother's awesome Minecraft map.
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't that cool?
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it genuinely was, wasn't it? It was awesome.
The Tracy Island.
Tracy Island. Yeah. Frickin' sweet. He must have spent forever on that thing. I don't know what the coolest part of it was. I think my favourite bit was the bit where Thunderbird 1 goes down from the top area into its launch bay underneath the swimming pool. Just that sort of...
Well...
I thought that looked awesome.
Yeah.
From the inside. Perhaps that's because that was the first bit of the inside of the island that we saw.
Yeah,
and we went, oh my god, this actually has all the cool insides. As obviously we knew it would, but I didn't know it would look that good.
Yeah.
Check out my insides.
And I thought Thunderbird 5 looked just about perfect.
It was like, that was a bit insane. It was like, Thunderbird 5 is like, it's the fact that it's basically to scale.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it had to be, essentially, to fit in with the rest of everything else was to scale.
Yeah.
But Thunderbird 5 to scale,
it's huge.
It's like, this is the most literally pointless thing in the entire show, pretty much, apart from all the shitty little vehicles that come out of the ponds.
That's true.
It never has any reason for having an exterior. It might as well just have been an interior shot and said, this is a space station.
Well, they had to have it so that they could have a 5 on the intro sequence. Yeah. Go 5 and have a picture of it. That's why they needed it. And, they just needed a dumb
So the fact that it was...
What was 4? 4 was the submarine, the yellow one.
I remember.
Yeah.
So the fact that we just had the full ridiculous model. But then, of course, it was pretty funny when you go inside and there's just like one room which doesn't fill up nearly the whole thing.
Well, it had his little bedroom, which is in the show as well at one point.
Yeah,
his little bedroom,
but it still doesn't fill up very much space.
No,
I think there's like there is nothing. Presumably, it's just like mechanics or something.
I don't know. Well, it's basically a communication satellite, but pointlessly made into a space station. Maybe in the 60s they thought that people would... telephone exchange people would be in the sky. Like, literally.
That would be funny. It'd be like an ancient 1930s pull out the plug switchboard, but in a satellite.
Because there can't have been that many communication satellites in 1963 or whenever Thunderbirds came out. Yeah, it was all speculation, I suppose. So... Yeah,
well,
anyway.
for the ones that big, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, that thing's much bigger than the International Space Station, isn't it? Well, maybe not in plan, but just mass-wise, it's fucking enormous. Anyway. But just to explain, we're talking about Thunderbirds.
Yeah, that's not going to make any sense to anyone.
Yeah, my brother went into Minecraft. He used an editor at first to build the island, didn't he? I think because he didn't mine out the whole. Yeah,
it's mostly editors.
But then he went in and built Tracy Island off the 1960s TV show, British children's TV show Thunderbirds, with puppets and everything. If you haven't seen it, check it out on YouTube.
Actually British?
Yep.
Yeah.
Really? All the characters are American, but it's completely British. At the time, America was cool, the space race, and so we wanted to be like them. So
the one British character has to be extremely British.
Well, no, there's two, isn't there? Because there's her and her butler. Yeah, but that's why there's so
they
much
count
British
as one
focus.
because they never took apart. Basically,
yeah.
When you get one, you're always going to get the other.
But he quite clever. My brother quite cleverly designed it, didn't he, Stephen? To have Fab 2, the yacht. To be away from the shore, so you could see the island. That's where you start. It's like an adventure map.
But it was kind of important because there is no back half to that island on that map.
Yeah,
it's like don't go. It's like it was meant to be a tour and everything. As it has plenty of signposts pointing you to specific things. But if you were to just go wandering off onto the island, you soon discover that there's no back half to that map, which is sort of in the spirit of the model of the original show. Because I'm sure that didn't have anything around the back either.
Exactly, and there is actually interesting things to see behind the back, like the models of the Thunderbirds that are just freestanding rather than in the hangars where they're relatively hard to see in their hole. They do look very cool in the hangars, especially when they're lit in noon, because at night you can't really see them very well. But
that's why you have to carry a bed around with you.
Yeah,
Minecraft.
But he did give a lot of beds.
Extra beds, extra carts, extra boats.
Extra everything everywhere.
Just keep a hold of them in case you accidentally cock up and send your minecart away and then run into it and then somehow manage to destroy them and pick them up again on the way past. That was pretty weird. We buggered up that rail system slightly.
We did. Well, it was coming back from Thunderbird 5.
Yeah.
So we got a bit lost.
I don't know how those carts turned round.
Yeah.
It's like we accidentally sent our cart away and then we jumped in another cart and we were just like, we'll just use this one. But then somehow that would have turned round.
Is this a little bit too specific to the level at this stage that
Maybe.
no one will see?
No, because minecarts are general. Maybe that happens with minecarts. Yeah.
It was probably something to do with the powered rails. They probably reverse direction.
Yeah, probably.
At some
Are they?
point.
I know. Are they the new part, the powered rails?
Yeah.
Right, because they were everywhere. So we must have upgraded the whole damn thing when that patch came out.
Yeah.
To put in the powered
basically.
rails because they were all over the place.
Although it's not the fact that they are now the powered rails and you don't have to use the stupid glitch Minecraft boost system.
Yeah.
That probably actually made it really easy to upgrade.
Right.
Because it's just like lay a bit of redstone circuitry and it's powered rail.
Oh, cool.
Rather than having to do all the stupid glitchy Minecraft timing and that kind of thing.
Because it was cool that he had a texture pack to make everything look right.
Yeah.
Because he even had like the little pictures of the Thunderbirds on the wall and the right pictures that you walk through to get to Thunderbird 1 and Thunderbird 2.
Yeah, and the pictures of the people and all their uniforms properly textured.
That you could put on.
Yeah.
And they were in the corresponding
Vehicles,
yeah. In a little chest. You should see, it's freaking detailed. Believe me.
Mental.
Yeah. Anyway, it's amazing what you can do in Minecraft. I mean, that is way cool.
Well, it's amazing. It's sort of amazing, but it is still an editor.
I know, but he'd done stuff before without an editor.
Yeah,
so it's not like he's not like the guy who imported the model of the Enterprise D straight into Minecraft and said, "Look, isn't this cool?" And everyone was like, "Wow."
But it's sort of like the same. It's the same way as like if you make Tracy Island out of Lego, except you do it in like the computer version of. It's like
I suppose
it's
probably easy with real Lego though. That's the difference.
Well, I mean, with Lego, the problem is getting all the right colours.
That's true.
And pieces
and bits. Yeah, but that's not a problem in Minecraft.
Yeah, but it's the same kind of thing where it's like doing it in an editor is not exactly the same. It's still impressive in its own way.
I suppose it's a different kind of impressive.
Yeah, it's not the same. It's not really the same game
because you don't look at something and see, oh, he must have had to mine out for ages to get that element in order to make obsidian in order to make that block, and then be impressed by the effort that it takes to make that.
Yeah,
because you could just spawn infinite amount.
It's like how everyone goes on about pixel art in Minecraft. It's like it's somewhat impressive if you had to mine all those bits. It's not as impressive if you just built a pixel art and you had the bits just from editing them in.
Yeah,
well, I don't know. You know, art in general.
Well, yeah, but
it's cool.
That's the thing with Minecraft, really, I guess.
But anyway, I think for editing given, I think this was pretty impressive. Yeah,
the actual shape, 3D shape of because I was thinking about how you'd even make that in there, and it's still pretty complicated.
Yeah,
to have to do it by slicers to get the right shape.
I know. And the way that Thunderbird 2 hangar is underneath the Thunderbird 1 hangar, which is just underneath the house, and it all fits.
Yeah.
How we work that out, it's amazing. Oh, Minecraft. So yeah.
That was a good discussion about something you didn't play but watched me play.
Yeah, but Minecraft is interesting, and what you can do with it is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess.
Anyway,
there's been patches in Minecraft lately, but I haven't played it since the last couple of patches, but there's some actually interesting shit coming. Like, mainly the maps. I'm quite excited about the maps. Because finding your way around in Minecraft is quite difficult. Although the problem with the maps, because the idea is, like, you get this map thing, and then while you're holding it, when you walk around the world, it draws the map.
Yeah. Gets rid of the fog of war.
Yeah, basically. And you can make... when you make the map, you sort of define the area it encompasses. So you can make, like, detailed maps that only cover a small area.
I see.
And then large maps that you walk around.
Right.
But it's like, that's all well and good and actually pretty cool. Yeah. And will actually, like, help you, like, keep track of when the fuck you are. Except for the fact that most of the time when you need a map will be, like, when you're underground, where you can't use these maps.
Right, because you can't see them.
It's like, I need a tunnel map, not a surface map.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Yeah, you can't make a sort of mind map.
No. But it's a step in the right direction, I guess.
Because you've kind of made a mind map for yourself in Work for Worm, like that I saw, like that shows where.
That's because Worm is incredibly simplistic in terms of its tunnels.
So Minecraft would be a lot more difficult.
Yeah, because I mean, in Worm, you can only mine out one square. And it's a weird system in Worm, because when you mine out a square, that square exists at every level of the map. So you couldn't mine a tunnel that goes under another tunnel. It would just make a vertical shaft.
Oh, okay.
Because it counts that tile as being mined out.
Oh, I see.
So basically in Worm, the underground is a totally flat plane.
Right.
Any illusion of height is just an illusion.
Whereas in Minecraft, you can have crazy dwarf fortresses.
Everything is
made
of blocks, so everything can be built on top of each other. So yeah, I played some Worm, I guess. Weird things have been happening.
Great.
Weird things.
Well, I told Rob about this, and so now I can tell Dan. Because this is how it always works with the podcast. I always tell one of you and then have to save the other one for the podcast.
Okay, so what's been going on?
Well, it was basically, had been a long-standing problem as the population started to go up due to sort of recent advertising, I guess, towards the start of this year. Right. Population started rising on they changed it so that you could get onto a server for free, basically. And then you had, capped skills if you were a free player.
Right.
So lots of people were just coming in for free and testing it and seeing whether they wanted to pay or do anything or whether they liked it.
Do you think Minecraft has helped?
Probably.
Notch connection?
Probably that to some extent.
Right.
And other upgrades to Worm probably also helped, when they redid all the graphics quite recently. Not actually sure when that was. It was before
They redid the graphics?
Yeah.
How bad were they before?
A lot worse.
Holy crap. Okay.
But
no, I did think the grass looked okay.
Yeah, there's some parts of it that are actually quite nice.
But it is still a Java client, isn't it?
Yeah.
So is Minecraft.
Yeah, I know, but you can't... Minecraft is specifically designed not to be graphically impressive.
Yeah, that's true. So, they changed the server to free. Server population started to rise, but then that had the problem of basically the aggressive animals in the world started getting killed off because there was more people around to kill them.
Like in the real world. Oh my God.
Sort of. Except the trouble in Worm is that it has a global cap on the number of creatures. So obviously because of server limits, it can only keep track of so many creatures. But that cap was a total for aggressive and non-aggressive creatures. So aggressive creatures that were easily accessible were getting killed off. People were breeding non-aggressive creatures, so that was taking up the cap. So gradually all the aggressive creatures that were left in the world were in inaccessible places.
Right.
Because that was the only place they survived, because all the accessible ones were getting killed. So eventually it came to the point where you almost never saw aggressive creatures at all.
Right, yeah.
And obviously that sucks for for gameplay reasons.
It's just like real life. Cows everywhere. You don't often see a
cougar.
Yeah.
Except in Red Dead.
Sort of real life, but...
Well, they appear when you don't want them to.
But sort of annoying for the gameplay. So recently they did this patch where basically it split out aggressive and non-aggressive into their own caps, and shifted them around so that the non-aggressive one is lower. So for quite a while I don't think it's even switched back yet, but you haven't been able to breed non-aggressive creatures because there's too many of them in the world. But
can you breed aggressive creatures then?
In certain specific cases you can. Right. It's difficult to do.
Why would you want to?
Well, it's just to make meat, basically.
Oh, right, I see.
Exotic meats.
Yeah, essentially. But
would you like some of my exotic meat?
No.
Okay.
So it's for a week or so.
Supply.
Ample. So for a week or so, basically in Worm, now that the animal limits have been moved, aggressive creatures have just been spawning everywhere. So it's been quite an insane time.
Awesome.
It's every time I come out of my house and there's just 4 goddamn wolves
and they get
a bear.
A fence then that you built. A great pains to build that fence around your property.
No, they can't get in there.
All right.
And they don't spawn
inside your land.
Well, they might do, but I think they spawn less inside claimed land or whatever.
Right.
I definitely had one wolf that was at my mine entrance, and I was like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I went inside my mine, and there was a giant rat, and I was like, "Wow, I've never seen one of these before. Really? They're meant to be the most common enemy because they're the easiest to kill, and so you're meant to train up your skill by killing rats, but
you never see them.
You never see them. Of course, now you do. So, and then I was like, I normally use fish in my cooking instead of meat because up to this point, meat had been quite a rare resource. So I was like, and I'd run out of fish, and I was
not my meat.
Yeah, it's not your ample meat.
not my exotic meat from an aggressive creature.
But it's like, I'd run out of fish.
It'd be so great if this like applied to your real life. Like, I usually use fish when I cook, but in fact, you never ever cook.
That's
Except
true.
like in the freaking game. It's
true.
like, in the game, I use fish when I'm cooking because there's not much meat around, and you know how expensive meat can be.
You have to season your fish in an appropriate way, so it's actually teaching you cooking recipes. But
Not quite.
It's just the way you refer to your cooking as if it's a thing you do, like you're a chef.
It's just a skill.
Okay.
it is just a skill.
It was like...
It's one you haven't learned in real life. You need to do what they do in The Sims and like, need to learn cooking, pick up recipe book, flip through it for like 2 hours.
If only it was that easy.
And they go,
and then attempt to not burn down your house.
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
It's like I'd run out of fish, so I was like, I'm going to walk down the hill to go fishing. But
To
by
the
the time I got to the bottom of the hill, I'd killed like 6 wolves and 2 bears, and then I had like 20 kilograms of meat, and I was like, I guess I don't need to go fishing any longer then.
Barbecue time!
Woo!
a bear barbecue. The barbecue.
So yeah,
That'd be a lot of meat.
Worm has been pretty ridiculous in terms of combat, which is sort of nice because I wanted to train up combat, mainly because before now, the only aggressive creatures I'd ever seen were ones that were way too high skill for me. So it's like trolls and giant spiders. It's like they just murder me in an instant, and
Right.
it's like
So wait, I thought this was supposed to be a sort of pioneering simulator.
semi-realistic.
With trolls
Yeah,
and exploding grains of flour.
yeah, semi-realistic.
All grains of wheat even.
But it's like up to this point, I'd never seen anything I could actually kill for skill, in like to skill up my fighting skills, so I can fight the bigger stuff. But I guess now I can.
So it's like the reverse of Bulletstorm, isn't it? Kill for skill.
Yeah,
But not with skill, because you just go,
Click.
except you don't even do that.
alright.
It's just like turn off fight mode, and then just stand there, and then eventually one of you will
And then
die.
a bar fills up or something.
Pretty much. Apart from it's the damage bar,
Rather than the farm bar.
but it's all about bars
Oh dear.
in an Eve style.
Anyway, what else have we played? Because we got a lot of worm coverage on the site there.
Yeah, and now we've got some more, and
Yeah.
now we're about to also have some more Pokemon coverage as well.
The final?
Maybe. Maybe.
Maybe.
We don't need backing music for my story.
Did you see the guys that band doing like the Pokemon trainer battle music with like guitars and keyboards? It's way
Sorry, I
cool.
just got annoyed at my iPhone because I was trying to write Pokemon and it just wouldn't let me say Pokemon. It just kept saying Pokemon.
Oh god.
Well, I poked on my Pokemon.
No, stop it! I want to actually write Pokemon. Stop correcting it to Pokemon. Fucking thing.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I basically finished Pokemon now,
Right.
Sort of. So I can now.
Can you get the original Pokemon yet?
Sort of. So basically, what happened was, last time we talked about it,
Yep.
last time we left,
Last time on Pokemon.
yeah, I got to like the Victory Road and the Elite Four or whatever,
Yeah.
and I was like, this
There's
is really
more
weird.
game.
There's like 3 more cities.
Yeah.
So I went through Victory Road and like the Elite Four, and I defeated the Elite Four, and then Team Plasma popped up,
Of course.
and then you go through there, like Team Plasma's a giant castle thing, which is just sort of. It comes out of the ground sort of around the Elite Four's place, which
Right.
is really weird. It's like, okay, so you just walk straight in there from the Elite Four,
Yeah.
go through there, fight, come to the
dude.
the child prodigy or whatever,
Yeah.
with his legendary Pokemon. Your legendary Pokemon wakes up, then you fight him, and it's like to determine whose ideals will rule the world. Will it be him with his peace and free the Pokemon, or you with your trainers are okay?
Yeah. Fight the Pokemon.
Yeah, and so then you fight, and then you win, and then he's like, cool, and it just fucks off. And it's like, that was the end? And I was like, what?
With the credits roll.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
what about the cities?
So basically, you're still a bastard, really, in the grand scheme of things at the end of the game.
yeah, sort of.
Is that the end though? You keep saying sort of.
Well, I mean, after you fight him, you also fight, like, the actual head of Team Plasma.
Yeah, the real boss.
Who's, you know, his plan is, like, failed because you've defeated this guy. And he's like, I'm angry, now I'm going to fight you. And then you defeat him, and it's like, okay. And then it's just like, that's the end. Credits roll. And, like, there's a little extra bit, like, post-storyline where it's like, go and find the remnants of Team Plasma and hand them into the police or whatever.
Oh,
It
cool.
is like the post-game game.
Alright.
But then what happens is,
Has Pokemon done that before, post-game game?
sort of, but not as much as this one, because that's the other thing with the extra 3 cities that I could see on the map.
Yeah.
Those are all post-game content. But the really weird thing about it is how it happens, because it's like you couldn't actually get to those before you'd finished the story.
Right.
It was like all blocked off.
Yeah.
And then when you enter those areas, that's just where the old wild Pokemon are.
And that's the only place they are?
Yeah. So
Right.
they don't appear, they're just in bits that you couldn't get to until you'd finished the game.
Okay. So you can't just find them in the normal world, you have to go to this specific area.
Well, yeah, I mean, you do get a couple that are like the swarms, where swarms of old Pokemon will appear at random locations around the map. Those can appear in the old areas, but it's just mainly this one bit. And it's doubly weird because it was
Does it have all of them from all the old games?
It's
Can you
actually
get a Pikachu?
I don't know.
Okay.
Don't think so, actually. You can get various other ones like Caterpies and
Alright.
some of the older ones. This is like some from all of the generations or whatever.
Just a mix.
Yeah, just a little selection. And those are, you don't get all of them from, some of them trade from white to black, whatever. It's not a complete, you basically can't catch them all in one game.
No.
You also can't actually catch all of the black and white Pokemons in one game.
No.
There's about 3 that you'd have to trade for.
But
which is actually pretty good.
That's always been that way.
Well, compared to some of the older games where it was more like half of them you had to trade across.
Yeah.
It's like you very nearly can catch them all in black and white terms.
Was it the Nidorans that you needed to have? Were they each from a different cart?
I don't think they
There
were.
was a female
they?
and a male.
I don't think those were. I think those were both in black, red and blue.
Maybe you're right. I can't remember. Anyway.
Yeah, but the weird thing is like I breezed through the game up to this point, pretty much. Walked through the Elite Four without too much difficulty.
Yeah.
It was like, now I can use all these tons of potions I stacked up because I've never used them before. Naturally.
Yeah.
Got through them. Got to the last boss guy.
Yeah.
And that fight was actually really difficult. It was like
the Team Plasma bastard leader. Not the child.
The child and him.
Alright, okay.
Because it's basically 2 fights in a row.
Alright, okay.
So you don't have a chance to... Well, no, it auto heals you between the 2 fights.
Right.
But compared to all the other fights up to that point, those are actually quite high level and difficult to kill, and like you actually had to be the correct type and all that stuff. So I did those. I was like, well, got through that using up most of my revives and everything.
Right.
And there was one point where basically my entire team, apart from one, was down, and I was just rezzing the one that was going to be the counter.
Yeah.
So it got quite close. Finished that. My team was about level 50 something at this point. Go back to the world. You go into these new areas where the old Pokemon are. The wild Pokemon in those areas are like 48-ish.
Whoa.
And every trainer in these areas, their Pokemon are like 65.
Oh, so they're better than the Elite Four.
Yeah, I was
Every
just
trainer.
like, what?
It's like a whole county of a whole state of the US full of like champion Pokemon trainers.
Yeah, these elite guys. And it was really strange because it was like suddenly the difficulty curve just goes whoop, and just like it goes suddenly up at the end, and then you think it's okay because you're like, well, one Pokemon there at a lower level than me, but then all the trainers are super tough.
I guess you have to have something to grind against if you're post game and you want to be completionist and like get a level 100 team or something.
Well, yeah,
How does it used to work?
Well, it was just a steady increase all the way up, and like in the old games, you never had this extra bit of math essentially.
I mean, in the original game, when I wanted to grind up my team, I just did the Elite Four over and over again.
That was the easiest way to do it.
Yeah.
Lots of experience.
And I could do it. It got to the point where if you were a certain number of levels higher than all of the Elite Four,
you didn't have to worry
could
about
just
type.
tap through the... you didn't have to worry about type or whatever. You could tap through the whole sequence. I used to get so I could do it on my way to school in the back of the car,
like half an hour.
Just listen to the radio, like tap through it. Yeah, and then if you do that enough days in a row, then you get a massive team of pointlessly awesome Pokemon for fights.
Yeah, so
with other people, which
so
I never really did.
It's like this really weird section of map where the wild Pokemon are high level and the trainers are really high level for some reason. I mean, obviously, because they were so much higher level, you still, if you've got the right type, you still one-hit them. Because that's really how Pokemon works.
Yeah.
So if you've got the right type matchup, you just destroy anything, no matter what level it is, pretty much.
Yeah, black. Yeah.
So I just, my team leveled up and it was okay. It wasn't too difficult. But it's sort of a weird, bizarre world where... Because you've got these wild Pokemon that start at level 48 and go higher to like 55. But some of them are like unevolved forms of stuff, and it's really bizarre. It's not really bizarre from like, an artistic view, I guess. But if you know anything about Pokemon, it's really weird because you're like, wow, I'm fighting a level 55 Kakuna.
Oh, I see.
It's like, what? That would never get to 55. It evolves at like 20.
So you could hold it back.
Yeah, but it was wild.
Maybe they don't.
Maybe they don't evolve in the wild. And it was a level 55 Kakuna that only knew Harden. And it's like, wow, this is like old school.
How did it gain that experience?
Yeah, exactly. Whoa. Presumably it got to level 54 as a Weedle and then evolved to a Kakuna at 55.
Yeah,
and then forgot all its other moves apart from Harden. So yeah, that was pretty bizarre. So I got through the end of the last bit of the map. It was actually very interesting. There's not actually very much to do. It looks like 3 more cities, but there's virtually nothing in them.
So you're not going to have anything else to report. Are you going to carry on playing it?
Well, it's like I basically went around this whole area, made sure I've caught every single possible Pokemon, and then now it's the point where it's just like, if I wanted to fill out my Pokedex more, it's breed them back down to their original form, level them back up so they evolve through all their levels and all that stuff.
And mess about with trading.
Yeah, and trading. And...
Oh, right, so there's only a certain amount that's wild.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying. So even if you want the whole lot, you do have to still go through the breeding process.
I'm still interested to see if, like, how complete I could make my Pokedex if I ported everything up I had in Diamond and Pearl.
So don't wild Pokemon breed? So there'd be wild every Pokemon.
Right, in the world of Pokemon, breeding is an incredibly confusing thing. It's like you give 2 Pokemon to the daycare people, and they breed, and then the daycare dude is like, you're just walking past, and the daycare guy is like, oi, come over here. We were looking at your Pokemon, and they were holding this egg. We have no fucking idea how it got here. Do you want it?
So basically the breeding centre doesn't understand breeding.
Well, it's not called breeding, it's the daycare centre. It's like the daycare centre where you leave your Pokemon, and if you happen to leave 2 that can breed, it's like, oh look, they make eggs. I wonder what might be happening.
So does nobody in this world understand the concept of fucking?
This whole thing is just, Pokemon is just ridiculous.
It's like, that was practically one of the earliest story parts of, like, Gold. Was like, you go...
Yeah, it was Gold,
it was like,
yeah.
Here's this egg, it's brand new research, we have no idea what the fuck is going on with this egg. Go and take it to this guy, he maybe knows. And then for like 4 more games after that, they still haven't worked it out.
They only just discovered eggs or something.
What was that Pokemon?
Do they not make
Togepi,
omelets?
that's the one that hatches from the egg you get in Gold.
That's right, Togepi.
So do they not know how to make omelets or something? An egg is a new concept, or...
I'm sure they have some kind of eggs that they are not Pokemon eggs.
Because presumably they don't have chickens, they have like chickamons.
There are no animals in the world of Pokemon, only Pokemon.
Well, they do have cow Pokemon that make milk, so...
Calmon.
I guess it fills that role.
It's just...
Well, no, but if it was a chicken Pokemon, they would still lay eggs, but if they weren't fertilised, they wouldn't hatch, so... You could still have an egg farm without having to know about breeding.
Maybe, but they'd sort of just say, what the fuck is this egg? Let's eat it.
Yeah, well,
rather than assuming that an animal came in it, because they've just been seen a million upon millions of normal eggs. Like, I'm saying normal eggs, edible eggs. And
presumably
they just go, what's this new thing? Oh, I bet it's fucking delicious.
Well, maybe they did eat them. Maybe that's why no one ever knew that Pokemon came out of eggs, because they kept eating them.
Nom nom nom.
Do you know how much idle Pokemon world speculation we have on this podcast already? Like half an hour, not even related to any particular mechanical game, just wondering how this universe works that is obviously completely insane.
Yeah, it's funny.
It's like they have evolution, but they don't have the theory of evolution.
It's like that. Is it VG Cats? The super effective, the sub VG Cats Pokemon comic. The one of them was like, if we evolve from Mankeys, why are there still Mankeys? Because obviously people evolved from Pokemon.
Yeah,
somehow,
of course.
And that was the other thing I mentioned to Rob earlier about like ghost Pokemon. It's like
so people could get in Pokeballs.
Well, I don't know, but the thing, it was like I was talking to Rob about the ridiculousness. In Diamond and Pearl, there was a graveyard, and it's like, this is where we bury all our dead Pokemon. And it's like, okay, so apparently Pokemon can die, they don't just always faint. Somehow Pokemon can actually cease to be alive. But then in Black and White, you go to this other sort of ruin or whatever, and there's ghost Pokemon, you capture them, and the Pokedex is like, this is a soul of a human who's been turned into a ghost. It's like, wait, what? So dead humans turn into Pokemon as well?
Pokemon?
It's like, what?
I don't know.
Oh, ridiculous. Hilarious.
I just like the idea of like having human Pokemon in a fight where you just throw your Pokeball and I choose you, dive. Steve. Apologies to everyone out there called Dave and Steve. But, you know,
Probably normal names.
Yeah,
die. Beautiful British names.
Beautiful British names.
You know that monkeys. We are not monkeys, we are apes and all that, people. Well, like, the monkey isn't a real scientific term, but the closest thing it is to simian, the Latin word for monkey or whatever.
Yeah.
And by that logic, an ape is a subset of monkeys, so by that logic, we are monkeys. So technically, we are monkeys. So anyone who says, pedantically, literally, so, but anyone who pedantically says, no, they're not monkeys, they're apes, is wrong, because all apes are monkeys, and they're by extension so are we.
Well, when you say monkey, are you using monkey as in primate, as the sort of like the monkey and primate being synonymous?
I think there are primates that aren't monkeys, like lemurs or something.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Yeah, so that's again another subset. But if you keep going down to mammal, eventually you say, a mammal is a subset of fish because it evolved from fish, so technically we're all fish. So I don't know how far back you can really go. But yeah.
We're all technically single-celled organisms.
We are all technically monkeys.
That's if you believe that step of evolution. Which I've always been a bit funny about that whole concept of like gills suddenly turning to lungs and shit like that.
There's like real fish that... Yeah. Like mudfish or whatever that go in water and on land.
I can't ever think there'd be more of them though. So like,
well, like leftovers.
Well, yeah, because that would be a fairly awesome ability to be able to do both.
Not really though, because it's like they're just pansying around in the mud. That's not actually very awesome.
Well, no, but
it lets them escape predators in the water and it lets them escape predators on land, but it's not like they're actually mobile very much.
No, but in the sense, not that we'd all end up being mudfish, but you know that some animal somewhere would have the best of both worlds kind of scenario, or at least be
better, better of both worlds.
Because it almost seems like a backward step to go, holy shit, I can breathe in both areas. Oh, I've lost water. Oh crap.
Yeah, you don't often get those sort of halfway platypus-style step things.
Well, it's a complexity issue, isn't it? Because, like...
It is, yeah.
We can't do it now because we've got bigger... It's like... lungs... Gills can't be as big as lungs, basically. Because of surface area or whatever.
No, true, but you still have sharks and they're pretty fucking big.
Yeah, but they have, like... very specialised gills.
Yeah, but those
gills wouldn't work outside of water.
They're still large gills.
But they don't have lungs. They've made space for the gills with the lungs or whatever. You can't do both because there's too much surface area required over both systems, I think is the idea.
It's bizarre.
Just have two inputs.
Evolution is so strange. It's like that problem of the eye that people talk about. They say, God must exist because
the eye is so complicated.
The eye is so complicated, and if it was just a little bit different, it would be fucked and it would be useless, so it couldn't have evolved by degrees. But then the scientists say, oh no, hang on, it could totally have evolved by degrees.
Yeah.
Because even if you have a tiny bit of light perception, that already gives you an advantage, and if you keep iterating on that, eventually you will get an eye.
Regardless
even though it seems unbelievable.
Again,
you're going to argue this one.
Well, I'm not arguing that evolution doesn't exist, because it blatantly does to some degree. Yeah. It's just like there are some steps of it that I have problems with.
Yeah.
The eye is definitely one of those, because you say light perception is completely different to have an entire functioning fucking organ.
But the point is there are degrees between, and people say an argument against evolution is saying, well, if it was only slightly different, it wouldn't work at all.
Well, no, again, you can't say that because of existing animals' eyes being different, I suppose.
And worse, yeah.
It's like they all work in similar ways, but with cat slits and being completely flat iris, quite a long way set back in the eye. That's very different.
Yeah.
And although I suppose the key principles are kind of the same, but
that's true.
But you know what I mean? It just I don't know of the step where something suddenly became, rods and cones in a spherical shape with a gel-like thing and a lens in front. It's
I know.
like that suddenly, there's like all of a sudden, all of that in one, and I don't know
Not
where...
all of that in one,
It
though,
wouldn't have
obviously.
happened in one, that's the thing. But you don't get to go back and see, well, unless you do...
Rods and cones would have been first, clearly.
Yeah.
Probably.
Just as cells. Then maybe spherical shape, because it would put the rods and cones out of further away from the surface.
It probably would have started as like a slight mound.
Flat, yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
But we have no... the eye is one of those things where we absolutely have no way of telling.
Yeah,
If
because
you
they don't
guys-
fossilise.
If you guys are listening and care about this shit and are on YouTube, check out Richard Dawkins' Christmas lecture at the Royal Academy of about 1991, which is on YouTube. He
I saw that,
he actually
Sounds
goes
familiar.
through making an eye. He goes through this bit, so and it's a really good demonstration. He's quite an annoying person, but that's one of the best things I've ever seen him do.
Yeah.
Because nowadays all he does is go around insulting religious people, which is not...
The way to do
No,
it.
that's quite
Which-
asshole.
He is an arsehole. But in that case, I mean, he was actually quite good at educating and explaining about evolution way back 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
So if you go back then, when he was just an ordinary professor explaining all this cool stuff, he was awesome. Now he's just a dick.
It's like if you want to be super confused about evolution, you have to look up like mitochondria and stuff. When cells develop mitochondria, because that's just ridiculous. Where a single-celled organism sort of acquired another cell inside it that did the work of the cell. It's just incredibly confusing.
Basically, Pokemon makes you think. It's an educational
Pokemon makes you
game.
dumb, and then makes you clever when you stop thinking about it and start thinking about related subjects.
Exactly.
So how is it really... Pokemon is shit. How is it really done?
Yeah, exactly. Come on.
So,
It really
Jesus.
works like it does in Spore.
Basically, yeah, that's
except not. Except you don't pull an arm off and
Exactly.
then replace it with another arm that's totally different.
I think a nice way to look at this is that evolution does happen almost certainly because of as you say, we can safely say because of those degrees, as you say.
Yeah.
But I think it's not unreasonable to suggest that it's probably not the entire picture, that there is...
There's always more to be known, isn't there?
Exactly, yeah. There's, as I say, there's just too much unexplained with it for me to just go, oh, evolution's it. If you know what I mean. Call me the skeptic and call me partially religious if you must, but it's like...
Well, kind of the whole
there's
point
kind
of
there's kind of-
science
yeah.
is to be skeptical to an extent, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like, isn't it? Because that's kind of the spirit of science, is to wonder if, not only wonder how things work, but wonder if your current explanation for how it works is totally right, isn't it?
And
Because
in-
otherwise you'd never find a better explanation. Or
And to talk about science,
yeah.
because I'm going to segue here so we can stop talking about this shit.
Go for it. Science.
Talking about
Segue.
science, because we're running out of time
SpaceChem.
also,
Portal.
I need to talk about SpaceChem,
Science.
not Portal.
Oh.
Because although,
Science.
as I was saying at the time when the potato pack was going on, it's like, why is SpaceChem not in here? It'd be like you're doing science in order for science.
Yeah.
It's like, that would have made perfect sense. But no, recently SpaceChem updated with basically to give you the ability to unlock TF2 items. You place these new levels in SpaceChem, you unlock items in TF2. It's like a SpaceChem badge and a fish cake for the heavy.
Really?
Yeah.
They actually went that far with it?
Yeah.
I thought it was like this dumb indie game that nobody had heard of.
No, it's totally awesome.
And now it's got these crazy items in TF2. It's that big.
Well,
I'm not saying big.
no bigger
but,
than the ones in the potato pack.
yeah, but Potato Pack's got worldwide exposure.
Well, yeah, but that was due to Portal 2, not
Yeah.
because of the actual games.
Potato.
Fair enough.
But yeah, so I've been playing some more SpaceChem and doing these things to get the TF2 achievements, and then they also introduced in this patch the ability to, like, basically, the same as Super Meat Boy, have a, like, level editor and, like, be able to import new levels, basically. Which, of course, in SpaceChem is incredibly easy, because you're not actually designing a level. You're just saying, here's what you start with, here's what I want you to make. And that's all you have to do, because the middle bit where it actually does the process is the game.
Yeah. So you can have loads of levels
Yeah.
very easily.
So you can make... And also in this level editor thing, they introduced, like, 2 new mechanics as well, which was pretty sweet. Like, actual new functions.
Mm.
Whereas, like, you already had a fusion laser where it fuses 2 atoms together, and now you have a fission laser where it splits it down.
Oh, cool.
And you have the quantum tunnel where it teleports one atom from one place to another, or if there's 2 atoms, it swaps them. So that's, like, some new mechanics for the level editor, and... Yeah,
Do you
obviously-
have, like, entanglement? Where 2 far apart particles, like, are affecting each other?
That would be, like, a super awesome extra layer to add to the quantum tunnels. But at the moment, it's just teleportation. They shouldn't really be called quantum tunnels. They should be called teleport pads or something.
Yeah, but nothing is quite right, is it?
Well, no.
But still, cool game.
Yeah, it was sweet. And then I got the TF2 items, and then I went into the TF2, equipped the SpaceChem badge to all of my characters, because I didn't have a badge on, because I don't like the dueling badge or the veterans badge, because it's this huge fucking rectangle that's really ugly.
I gotta admit, I just went through all my characters and replaced it with the Portal Cube badge.
Yeah. I was going to put that on, but then I was like, oh, SpaceChem badge, that will do much better. So I put the SpaceChem badge on, which actually looks super awesome. It's like a little circle with the SpaceChem logo,
looks like
wings.
It does look like it would look good on the soldier,
like
especially.
a rank.
Yeah, it does look like an actual medal, which is kind of strange. So I put that on all my characters, and then I equipped the fish cake to the heavy, and then I played some heavy, which I basically never have done for ages. Basically ever since the first heavy update.
Let me guess, did you own?
Yeah, I owned.
Whenever I go back to heavy, it's like, this is sweet.
But I was like, I haven't played heavy basically since the heavy update. I had about 18 hours of heavy at that point, and I've basically never played it since, so heavy has gone to the bottom of my playtime. Even Spy has overtaken it due to my ridiculous gun spy runs.
Yeah.
So it's like heavy dead bottom of my playtime. Went in there. I mean, I had the fish cake, which is not really a good alternative to the sandwich. It's just the same as the chocolate bar.
Right.
It's got the same stats.
It's just kind of a useful alternative, I think.
Well, in some situations, yeah. It's not as versatile as the sandwich.
What's it do then?
It's like, it gives you plus 50 health over 30 for 30 seconds. So if you eat it when you're at full health, your health just goes up by 50 and stays there for 30 seconds.
So your max health.
Overcharge.
Not overcharge.
Not
It
overcharge.
just puts your max up.
Right.
But if the medic then heals you overheals, it cancels it. So you can't be over healed.
Right, okay.
And
although that would be awesome.
And you can just eat it over and over to like get 50 health back. Basically, so it's much slower than the sandwich if you're just trying to get health back because you have to keep eating it.
Less than 5 minutes.
Less than 5 minutes. Oh, I thought that was much shorter.
We're completely out of time. Yeah, 2 minutes 10. 2 hour 10.
Yeah, got a little bit of time. So so the fish cake isn't really as good as. I mean, the sandwich is way more versatile because of like the whole throwing it and it restores you to full health as well.
Yeah,
instead of little bits of health like the chocolate bar or fish cake. But I put it on because it's like fish cake, and then people were like, "What the fuck is that?" And I'm like, "It's the fish cake."
That did happen. You had a crowd around you in Team Fortress just watching you eat this fish cake.
Yeah, I mean, it's
literally like a salmon fish cake.
Well, it's got a wrapper and it's like a yellow. It's like a yellow block, basically.
Orangey brown solid.
Like a giant fish finger.
Yeah, like a giant fish finger, basically.
In newspaper.
In a wrapper.
Okay.
Which says fish cake on it.
It's like a fish cake bar you purchase from Nestle.
Yeah, basically. So, I mean, I basically unlocked it and gone straight into Team Fortress at that point. So I obviously no one else had seen it. So they were all like, "What the fuck is this?" And it's just a reskin for the chocolate bar, really. So
I meant Nestle, like if you bought it like a Mars bar or something. So inside it's like a fish cake.
Yeah,
bizarre.
But then I played that round as heavy, and basically totally destroyed everything. It was really dumb. I was just like, well, it was on Gravel Fit. The attack wasn't very interesting. I actually didn't get very involved. Our team just pretty much walked it without me. But then on the defense, I was at like B, the main one you always defend.
Yeah.
A. No one bothers with A. Fuck A. With that, we were at B, and we just held it the entire round. And I was just demolishing everything. And then at the end of it, my heavy's top score had gone up by a lot.
Did you have a quick squeak medic?
No, I had a regular.
He had a normal medic, so he was in the fairly privileged position of actually having a medic who was good at his job.
Well, I don't know. He didn't. He stuck around on me.
Yeah,
most of the time. He did keep breaking off. And,
but
that was mainly because I kept breaking off. I kept running off and doing ridiculous runs and murdering people.
But he was a fairly good medic.
He was
that does help. And I find that when I play as heavy, I always get the shit medics. I don't know what it is. It's
not me.
I mean, no, not you. You were great the other night when we did. Well, the last time when we did it, and it's like that's a massive help.
But he was,
or even when we worked together, because I was medicing you. Was I medicing you?
I mediced you.
No, you mediced me.
Well.
Yeah, that worked brilliantly. When it was like, I had a great game.
But yeah, so I was just like owning it. The funny thing was he almost never deployed his Uber because we didn't need it. I was basically destroying everything before we even needed the Uber, and their team was doing basically nothing. killed them all, and then my top heavy score went up to like 35, which is basically my third highest score, which makes my score graph look really weird, because you've got Scout and Sniper at the top, which have the highest scores, and then it's like, it sort of curves off towards the middle, where like Soldier and No went on, that I never play because I'm crap, and then right at the bottom it's like, heavy, 35! With the least played time and the third highest actual score. Awesome. It's like 30 kills in a life. Oh no, I think it was 25.
90 seconds.
The lesson here is
play heavy, apparently.
Play heavy for a bit and check it out, because you might have forgotten how much you like it.
Playing too much heavy has the opposite effect though, because you can sort of like have the...
I just don't like heavy, even though it's like...
Even though you're good at it.
Yeah, apparently I'm good at it, but I just don't... It's too slow!
Yeah,
it's like
so I play Scout.
Yeah, it's like I was good at it as well, but if I play it too much, I get crap at it. And it's like you sort of get into the wrong mindset for it for some reason.
Also,
I love doing the jumping around
corners. Yeah.
The jumping around corners, spinning up is so much fun.
Wrap it up.
Yeah.
Right.
We've got a minute.
That's it. Well, thanks for joining us once again. Thanks for your TF2 rant again, Zach.
I think we've managed to fit everything in.
Did you Pokemon? I think we did.
That was quite a squeeze.
The SpaceChem in.
Amongst all the other crap in the middle.
Join us again next week for more Batman.
Batman!
More Portal 2, more Assassin's Creed.
Oh, yeah, well, if Dan gets a chance to play it, maybe a spoiler cast sometime soon.
Indeed.
And significantly less cream biscuit ninjas. Wait, what? Cream monsters?
Custard cream!
That's the one.
Shit, I forgot what happened at the start. It's been 2 hours.
I'm gonna burn some cream.
What was
You've got the wrong voice!
I have, yeah. my throat is hurting from it slightly.
Well, this kind of petered out. We started doing...
What was your other character?
Dave.
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 There you go. Well, thanks for joining us, and we'll catch you again on the Saladcast.
The cream!
This ending is great because we can't see the time from here, so we're just
There's 2
filling.
seconds.
Bye.